Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for another podcast where we are going to be counting down the arbitrary and the reductive here today, as we are going to walk away from this podcast with a list on Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST once again, where we're talking about the funniest all-time Jeff Probst moments. And here to join me to talk about it all, my co-host on this journey, here is the great Mike Bloom.
Rob, we needed this podcast like Jeff Probst needs a pair of khakis and a blue shirt. Here we are, talking about the host with the most.
Yes, Mike, so nice to see you. And Mike, you have like a formal dress shirt on tonight.
I'm trying my best Probst cosplay. I did realize that I think
is that what you're going for?
It's an attempt. I think this is blue. I actually am semi colorblind in that I have a very tough time differentiating between dark shades of other colors and gray. So this might be gray. This might be 2021's version of the dress right now. But this is at least my best attempt at trying to wear my best Jeff Probst blue-esque button down.
Very professional, Mike Bloom.
I'm trying. I mean, as professional as it can be. You know,
yes,
it's going to become very unprofessional soon.
Yeah, we do these Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST shows on video, so you can see the list as we are going along here. But boy, I'm so excited that we have this woman here with us to help us put together this list. Here she is, the great frail Mary is here. Mary Kwiatkowski. Mary, how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I am dressed as professionally as I get nowadays that I'm working from home. So.
Yes.
This is about it.
Yes, Mary is wearing a ski cap. And what is that design?
It's an elephant, but I'd say that it's pretty badass. Bangarang.
Bangarang. Yeah. Okay. Ski hat. Yeah, that's badass. Yeah. All right, Mary. How's everything going for you?
Things are going well. Wisdom teeth all healed up, so I'm excited. I'm ready to list some things that hopefully don't involve David Murphy and proposals. But as long as we can avoid some of that, then I think we'll be good.
Oh, yeah. Rob, now we can finally pull down the cover to reveal that we are Outwit, Outplaying, OutLIST all of David Murphy's moments in the 2 minutes of his proposal during Survivor Redemption Island reunion.
All 2 of them.
Yes. Okay. All right. So very excited to have Mary and Mike back with us here for our Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST countdown. If you're joining us for the first time, that Mike has gone through and with the help of the Rob Is a Podcast patrons has gone through and come up with a list of about what would you, do you know what the total number is, Mike?
I think right now we're going with a nice little card number 21, I believe is the number we have settled on tonight.
21 moments.
The Nicaraguan number.
Exactly. Yes. So we're talking about the old and the young Jeff Probst, really bridging those age gaps.
Yes. Okay. The 21 moments, funny Jeff Probst moments that have been selected by the patrons of Robin's podcast, curated by the great Mike Bloom. We are going to rank them, and we are going to put them into 4 tiers here. The top tier, the greatest moments, the funniest ones that we love, are in the tier worth playing for. Then we have a second tier, My Life is Fine. The third tier is Ain't No Hershey Bar. And the fourth and final tier for the stuff that is ratchet, Forget You, Go Home, Goodbye. And that is how we're going to drop those in. We'll move things along on the way. Again, the visual helps if you're listening to the podcast version, but you could play along and we will hear all of those clips. For those of you, we will never forget about just, I don't even want to say just the podcast listeners. They are how we started, and they will, that podcast listeners to me and YouTube viewers, that they are an epic handshake of awesome people.
We're loyal to the ears and the eyes equally.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So however you're consuming this, we welcome you aboard. Of course, it was only a couple of weeks ago that Mary helped us count down. I watched all of Survivor Redemption Island. I believe that was 4 or 5 weeks ago. I will be back again live with another Survivor season. Survivor Worlds Apart will be the next season that we take on tomorrow night. Jenny Autumn, Phil Thompson will be with me live on Wednesday night, and we will talk about everything from Survivor Worlds Apart. And I hope to finish my binge watch of that season sometime in the next 24 hours. So I have a ways to go.
Where are you right now?
So I'm still in the pre-merge.
We got a long way to go.
I still have a long way to go. So yeah. So hopefully get a couple more episodes in tonight. Just a little bit of a preview for that podcast. Really good premiere. A bit of a slog in the rest of the pre-merge.
I mean, it's no Redemption Island, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Mike, why don't you tell us about what we're going to listen to first?
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So we are going to be going through some, obviously not all, of some of the funniest moments involving the host of Survivor from the very beginning, Jeff Probst. And I want to put in a few precursors before we dive in proper. First, I of course want to give thanks to the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast for reminding me of so many Jeff Probst moments that I personally have forgotten about over 20 years. But specifically to Paul Osselson and Lindsay Wilson, who, Rob, you previously did podcasts with both of them that featured quite a number of humorous Jeff Probst moments that will also be making a return appearance here. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel too much.
Right.
That being said, I am going to put out the blanket statement that I do with all of these podcasts. This is not going to encapsulate everything, and specifically everything that everybody wants. So we do apologize if certain moments were left out. We'd like to say here, save it for the sequel. And there will certainly be moments for the sequel for this one. Let me also say at the top here, before we get into things, before things get too misconstrued, I think ultimately this is a love letter to Jeff Probst in the form of a podcast. You know, this guy has been holding down this fort and has been a seminal part of a show that we love so much since the very beginning. You can tell that the passion with which he has for the show, no matter how guided it may be, oozes out of him every word that he speaks. It just so happens that over the course of 20 years, a bunch of interesting things happen, as would happen to any of us. If we did an Outplay, Outwit, OutLIST about Rob, Mary, and I saying weird stuff, funny stuff over 20 years, I'm sure you could fill a phone book.
Certainly.
I don't think anybody should investigate any past things I've ever said.
So this is not meant to impugn or slander or demean Jeff Probst. We are here instead to honor him, to reward him, and to talk about how much Jeff Probst has been a seminal and important part of some of the most fun, enjoyable, and interesting moments in Survivor history.
Okay. Are these moments only from Survivor, or are we incorporating Jeff Probst moments from, say, hiking up Paramount Mountain?
Well, no. So that is going to be, and look, let's put the cart before the horse here. We'll save it for the plugs at the very end, but we heard you loud and clear, folks. Coming to you at some point near the end of February, beginning of March, we are going to be doing Brant Steele, Survivor Paramount Mountain, featuring Jeff Probst and all the cavalcade of characters from the CBS Viacom merger. That'll be saved for a rainy day.
Yes. We were getting a lot of tweets from listeners like, hey, Brant Steele, Paramount Mountain, make it happen. Credit to Brandon Donlin, credit to David Allen, and others who were saying, you must Brant Steele the trek up Paramount Mountain. So closer to March 4th, when that is announced or that is kicking off, we will get into that along the way. Highlights from the Super Bowl 55. I believe that the Paramount Mountain hike was the highlight of Sunday's Super Bowl for most.
Yeah, in both elevation and I think entertainment. And yeah, I mean, it'll be the first cold weather season of Survivor, so we're really breaking a lot of grounds there. But yeah, I have decided to include moments that have happened on the televised version of Survivor. So unfortunately, you know what? Let me actually provide a little bit of a bonus clip here to start things off, because we do sort of need a national anthem for this podcast. And who better to go to than the man himself, Jeff Probst. So here is Jeff Probst when he was on one of many sketches that he did on the hit comedy sketch program Mad TV, singing the theme song from Survivor. Are you excited to hear some Jeff Probst covering Russ Landau?
Okay.
All right, here we go. There you go. So Jeff's really getting us into the mood there.
Yeah, he sounds like one of the Three Stooges.
I think he sounds all like all the Three Stooges just crammed into one body.
Okay. All right. Mike, what is the first clip? Are we going chronological order?
Yeah, we're going to go chronological here because I think, you know, when you did your podcast with Paul Osselson, you pointed out some really interesting moments as to like almost the evolution of Jeff Probst, how maybe some of the weirdness that existed initially was more so based in the nouveau aspects of production. And then once Jeff gets more comfortable, then he starts to throw his own sort of personality in there. So this first one is going to be a little bit of a hybrid, I think, of, you know, a funny Jeff Probst moment as well as sort of a funny Survivor Borneo being Survivor Borneo moment.
Okay.
So we are going to the third episode of the show, arguably one of the most important episodes in the show's history, because in these first two tribal councils, it is like herding cats. There's everyone's talking over each other, rain's coming in. Nobody exactly knows what this type of forum is supposed to be. So for the third tribal council, which is where clip number 1 comes from, Jeff Probst has a new method by which we are going to conduct tribal council.
Okay.
Going to try a couple of things differently tonight. One is this conch shell. The whole idea being to see if we can get a little more truth. You ought to be able to feel safe to say things here that maybe you can't say back at camp. So, is there anybody here that has something on their mind?
So, clip number 1 is Jeff Probst instituting for 1 round only. This never appears again. Here's the magic conch shell. Touch it, and you'll be granted the power of speech.
It's very kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
Is he's trying things. This is still Jeff Probst as the 17th cast member, Jeff Probst. So he's just trying to rein everybody in.
As the rain is coming in.
I don't even think it really works that well in this tribal council, which is why we never see it again.
Yeah, because if somebody is all the way on the end, then it's hard. Like, hey, can I get the shell over here? It's like, all right, pass it down.
Yeah, you could really. Well, that's the thing. You could really, in the live troubles nowadays, I think you could really block someone from talking, right? By being like, don't give them the shell, bogart the shell, so that Julie never gets the chance to speak and defend herself.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is like super funny. It's weird that they tried this for one tribal council only. Can't really cut around it that it didn't stick.
Yeah, and I love this idea. Like, I do wonder to that point, how many other methods were brought in for these tribal councils? Like, if the conch shell didn't work, next time he comes in like, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go around, say our names, what we're bringing to the picnic, and then talk about what you're doing at camp for the day. Just coming up with all these different icebreakers so that people can speak in an inordinate fashion.
Yeah. Mary, should people have to raise their hands to speak at tribal council?
Well, sometimes people have raised their hands, and famously, some people have also stood up to speak, stand on their stool, and whatnot. I don't know. I think if you get so far into the live tribal council and the whispering, maybe Jeff just does need to come back out and say, no whispering, no going off in a group. We're bringing back the conch shell. We're bringing it back. We're going back to Lord of the Flies.
Now, the question is, could the conch shell be used like an idol? Where, okay, here's the conch shell. The advantage is you're the only one to talk at this tribal council. It's like the opposite of Jeremy Collins getting to lead.
Island 2, when it comes back as having that power, then yes, for sure.
Yeah. So to me, that I feel like that this is interesting. I don't know necessarily like how much of a funny moment this is.
All right, well, let's put it on the tier chart and see where it falls. These first ones also are always very hard to rank, right? Because I think we're still trying to determine the criteria at this point. What is the rubric for this particular podcast? So this also has a lot of variance. It could easily move up or down, but I'll be intrigued to see where this first moment falls.
Okay, so let's bring in our list so we can take a look at that. And I will go ahead and share that with you here who are watching us live on YouTube. So let me just open this up and here we go. So here's our list. Okay. And we start with the shell. All right. Mary, do you feel like that you have a good sense of where the shell should go?
For me, this is in a pretty good spot right here.
Forget you go home. Goodbye.
I mean, I would like to reserve judgment to move it around later if I need to, but I think that it's either here or it's at the very bottom of the next tier. It's a weird moment. It's never even like, it doesn't have any lasting reference in the show. It's never brought up again. It's not really something that people joke about unless they're doing a Borneo rewatch and they're like, oh, that's a weird moment. You don't bring it up and quote it that often.
But the humor, I think, comes from the fact of what you just mentioned. The fact that it is never brought up again. This is a one-time lightning strike, not rolling thunder. And I do think that there is some humor that comes from the fact that you tried this concept that, like you said, Mary, is akin to, getting 5-year-olds to settle down and not talk over one another. And it just fails spectacularly. I do think there is some humor in that. I personally would put it in Ain't No Hershey Bar with the reservation that it could easily be moved up or down based on the rest of the competition.
I feel like it'll be at the bottom of Ain't No Hershey Bar. Mary, I don't know if this is ratchet.
I mean, it's a conch shell with a bunch of adults on an island for $1 million.
That's not the definition of ratchet.
Yeah. All right, let's leave it here. Let's leave it here on the bottom, and let's see where we go.
I could see it being bumped up if we realize that there's a lot of stuff that's worse than this.
All right. So, Mike, where are you going to go from here? We'll give you back the shell.
Oh, thank you. I will also mention that in that aforementioned Mad TV clip, where it's Jeff sings the songs of Survivor and he does parodies with many quote unquote celebrities. They do say Jeff Probst puts down the conch shell and picks up the microphone. So apparently, back in these days, Jeff Probst and the conch shell, that was like his thing. If you got the Jeff Probst action figure, he came with conch shell.
I want the Jeff Probst action figure that comes with the whiteboard. That's the one I want.
Just the one whiteboard from the Cambodia finale.
Yeah. I think that's the one I'm going for.
Either
that or the banana yellow shirt.
A whiteboard. He had like a poster
he had a picture,
size tribal council of like the a still frame of the tribal council, like a canvas people.
That's okay. You got to canvas people. I'm assuming one of the know-it-alls people took a snapshot and sent it to Jeff Probst, and he said, "Okay, let me draw on this like John Madden did to sort of map out the play, despite there being 6 stationary individuals sitting there."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that we should have like some sort of a virtual conch shell for podcasting and Zoom calls.
Well, the problem I think
conch shell, if you want to speak.
Yeah, I think the problem with Zoom calls is that people often don't know they have the conch shell, or they do in inappropriate situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I'll get that going on my next Clubhouse.
All right, so let's move only a few seasons ahead. Rob, we're going to your favorite season. We're going to Survivor Thailand.
Oh, okay.
And so in episode 4, Jeff Probst at this point, I feel like, he's been pretty rote when it comes to reading the votes, even when nicknames are institutionalized. He's sort of had it by the time Thailand rolls around. And during the vote out of extremely popular breakout guest of RHAP, Gandia Johnson, Jeff gets a little miffed at a vote that he cannot decipher. And this is really one of the first Jeff Probst outbursts I think we get in Survivor history.
Well, for the first time, I have a vote. I have no idea who it belongs to. Who wrote Bye Bye Denver Diva? Who's the name? Gandia.
Denver Diva.
In the future, write a name down, okay? Enough with the nicknames.
Enough with the nicknames.
I think the funniest part of that might have been Clay's response. Jeff was like, who wrote this? Denver Diva? Gandia. Yeah, that's Denver Diva. Yeah, we got it. We can read. It says Denver Diva.
Yeah. Did he want to repeat it to sell the joke? Like, oh no, you don't get it. It's Denver Diva. It's hysterical, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you know it's coming from me, the Clayster.
Every time I hear this clip, it reminds me of the fact that in the first couple seasons, Jeff would even say like, all right, everyone, make sure you write in all caps in big block letters where it's easy to read. And he would give like very explicit instructions that they felt the need to keep on the show. And then we get to the point where, flash forward a couple seasons, it's Denver Diva.
Mm-hmm.
So not he must not have been giving out those instructions anymore.
Now, do you think if he had just written Denver Diva, would Jeff have had much of a problem? Did he not like the fact that it was like a sentence inscribed on the parchment instead of just a name?
Who's Bye Bye? What does this mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, for the first time, someone wrote a greeting, and I don't understand who it's for. Who wrote Bye Bye?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would have happened in this scenario if Clay didn't speak up and was like, I'm not going to reveal my vote?
I mean, he very well could have, right? Because it's like, I don't want to, it was a very highly contested vote from what I remember. You could also throw blame onto someone else like, hey, Brian, isn't that your writing?
Yeah.
You're always calling Gandhi a Denver Diva, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mary, is this like Sequester where then Clay got called on to reveal his vote at the tribal council?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. I mean, it's I think he could pull out the rule book and say, I think that this is anonymous voting and I don't need to say who it is. They might have thrown the vote out, but at least he could protect his turn to Gandhi and say, no, I don't even know where you're from.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, that's the thing, though, is I don't know at this point, is it in Jeff's power set as a host to ask who voted? Is he allowed? Voting is technically supposed to be anonymous. To Mary's point, is he allowed to say whose vote is this?
Yeah. I don't know. Just from like a legit production standpoint, that I believe, I guess they needed all 4 of the votes. It was a 4-2 vote, right?
Yeah.
So they needed to read all 4. I was just trying to think of like maybe if it was like if they had a majority. I was thinking it was 5-1. Maybe they didn't even need to read that one.
But you would think when he's casting the vote, he's either saying, my vote's for Gandia, and so they know, or the people who are, I don't know, or is there just a camera back there? Whatever's filming him when he's casting the vote, they should tell him then that he needs to write.
Okay, yeah, different. So I do believe that there is a person there who's manning the camera, and I think that it's hard to remember, but I think that at the final tribal council, because they don't want anybody to know the final vote, that I think maybe they're watching from inside the booth, but what they should have done here is like when they see him write Denver Diva and hold it up to the camera, there should be like, all right, Clay, we need you to come back. And then just, I guess it depends on where you come from. If you say like, oh no, this was a great moment, this needed to be in the show, but just from a production standpoint, they probably should just had him like come back and write another vote.
Unless production wanted to say in this moment, let's make an example out of Clay. Right? Like, we're putting a moratorium on the nicknames. This thing has gone too far. 5 seasons in. Clay, buddy, you're patient zero here for the nickname genocide.
I mean, does it happen again?
I don't think it happens to a point that Jeff actually asks whose vote it is. I do think people still write down nicknames, but I don't think they're as vague as, I'm going to take the place that you're from, give you my own nickname, and then write it down.
Yeah. It was unclear if Gandia was ever referred to as Denver Diva in, we should have asked for this on the Talking with T-Bird podcast, but if you haven't listened to that, that was an all-timer. I don't know if Denver Diva was a name that Gandia was responding to on the island.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, would she then volunteer? Could she say, that's not me? I've never been to Denver. I don't know who that. Maybe it's Jan. It must be Jan.
Yeah. That's what she should have said.
Okay. Jan's always acting like she's a mile high. Then maybe it's her.
Yeah, I think it's Clay. I think that was Clay's. That's a vote for Clay, I think.
Oh, did Clay vote for himself? Oh,
yeah,
Clay. Wow, look at you.
Okay. Should we place this?
Yeah, let's place this, because I do think this is
Will it be a mile high?
Well, I don't think it might go that far, but I do think it's definitively a funnier moment than the conch shell. I personally think it's at least an Ain't No Hershey bar. Here's another fun game. See if Rob can find which picture this applies to.
Which picture? Yeah. So some of these are sort of like a little bit literal. Some of these are like the actual moment. I'm looking at all of the pictures of what could be what Mike picked for the picture of the Denver Diva, and I am really struggling. I don't want to give the whole show away. So
I think I have a hunch of which one it is.
Yes. What do you think, Mary?
I mean, I'm thinking it's on the middle row, the white and red one.
That is correct. The name
Hello,
tag.
my name is
the name tag.
The name tag. Okay.
All right, so let's write in the name for this moment, if you will. Where does this place in the scheme of things?
Okay. All right. I think it's better than the conch shell.
Agree with that.
Okay.
I think it's more memorable for sure. And I love frustrated Jeff.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Ain't No Hershey bar.
Yeah, I kind of like putting it in my life is fine. I feel like it's a big historical moment as well, right? Like, again, I do feel like this is a defining moment of, okay, we're sort of done with these tongue-in-cheek nicknames that don't outwardly explicitly refer to the name. As Mary said, this is, I think, one of our first glimpses at sort of more of a stern Jeff Probst. This is also one episode after the whole attack zone thing. So it's clear that he has turned over a new leaf, in a manner of speaking, of being that disciplinarian that he could not be in the Third Tribal Council of Survivor Borneo.
What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, this is around the same time where Jeff is really picking up his commentating during the challenges, and he's really getting into that hosting role, and he's also therefore, I think, exercising a bit more power. I love the fact that he's kind of pulling out this move that's like, I'm just gonna say that it's a requirement for someone to speak up and say their vote. They could probably contest it, but I'm like the principal now. I'm not just one of the cast. I'm a step above, and they need to follow along. And it's a good moment. I like it, and my life is fine, I think.
Okay. All right, then let's leave it there and see where we go. So, Mike, what's next?
All right, so we're moving only a few more seasons forward, still remaining a bit old school here. Let's go to Survivor All-Stars. And look,
If we have to.
It would be a faulty job on my part were I not to include some moments between Jeff Probst and Rob Mariano. Truly one of the best bromances to transcend several seasons on Survivor. And I think we found the moment when sparks truly flew. It's during the car reward when, as we know, Rob got to bring Amber along to the drive-in movie. They had their first date. But for a while, they had a third wheeler on their fourth wheeler in the form of Jeff Probst. So what you're going to hear is Jeff, Amber, and Rob getting in the car, as well as Jeff's, for lack of a better term, exuberance to Boston Rob's driving skills inside the pickup truck that he won.
So it's Amber and Boston Rob at the drive-in movie.
Sounds good, Jeff.
Let's get in. You guys, heading on back.
Y'all have a good night.
Boston Rob, you're driving. Amber, hop in back. I'll take shotgun.
Look how dirty.
It's okay.
Nice.
Let's hit it. Nicely done, Mariano. What are you doing? This is a guy who knows his way around the truck.
Nicely done, Mariano.
Yes.
Mariano.
What up?
Okay. So would it have been better, Mike, if Jeff drove the car like we talked about when in Survivor Thailand, he picks up everybody in the car?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a comedic perspective, no, because I think one of the best parts of this entire thing is that Jeff calls shotgun on an in-house showmance. I'm saying, all right, I know she's your sweetie and you picked her on the reward, but no. I'm sitting in the front seat next to you, buddy. I'm getting some primo BR time.
Yeah.
There's so many comments made by Jeff throughout this that I love. I love the, oh, you seem like a man who knows your way around a truck. I love Amber saying, I don't want to get it dirty. And Jeff's like, it's fine. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
He doesn't have a right to say that.
Not his car.
I don't think you get
great.
the one that was out there. I think I really do think it's fine.
So, what do you think this is like one like the dealer model one?
This is like a prop truck.
I don't think it's a prop truck. From what I understand, they bring in the truck, but I do not think that then the truck that you have in Panama is actually the truck you get at the dealership in Boston.
I mean, that would make more logical sense now that I'm thinking about how they're shipping that.
Who got this car dirty?
Yeah, well, if you remember, this is
my address. Yeah,
this is when there's a second car too. So they had two prop cars,
yes. And then Amber got a car also.
Right.
Yeah. Mary, I know that you are the #1 Boston Rob super fan. Have you picked up a copy of the Boston Rob cookbook yet?
I was about to mention.
It's a cookbook.
As a proud owner of the Boston Rob family favorite cookbook that arrived today in my mailbox.
Yes.
Yes, I did buy it.
Mary, will you be making any recipes from the Boston Rob family favorite cookbook?
There are a lot of great sounding Italian recipes in there, along with a page that I didn't know this was a recipe, but how to make fire. So,
well, that often is required for cooking. Just make sure, Mary, that you have plenty of dairy in the fridge because Boston Rob does like to use the butter system.
Right. Yeah, he also likes his sauce, as we know. So,
okay. All right. Was there a recipe for popcorn or only crispy rice?
There is coconut popcorn and crispy rice.
Wait,
spoilers for the cookbook.
Okay.
All right. I think we need Mary to stream in the future her attempts to make one of the Mariano recipes.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
All right. Well, let's see where this visit with Jeff and the car is on the list. And I guess people are having fun with watching me try to figure this out. So let me go down into the... Okay, here's Jeff and Boston Rob in the car.
Yeah,
that is clearly it.
I had to include the picture in there because, again, Jeff's face is pure ecstasy. And the whole nice Mariano, he does a fist bump to Rob. So what up, Mariano? I love that as well. This is very much like Jeff might as well have turned that hat backwards a la Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock and did a what up, fellow kids in terms of that modern jargon that he uses.
All right.
You can't even see Amber. Is she even in there?
In Jeff's mind, she doesn't need to be.
Okay. All right. So Rob and the car, it's better than the conch shell, right? That's at least up to Ain't No Hershey Bar.
Yeah,
I definitely think so.
Okay. Is it on to My Life is Fine?
What do you think, Mary?
Well, I feel like a very biased party here.
Mhm.
I think it's a more fun and funny clip when you compare it to the Denver Diva one. The Denver Diva one might be a little bit more memorable, but this one is more lighthearted and funny, and he's got 4 or 5 funny lines in there as opposed to just one.
Okay, this is a much funnier. I think Denver Diva has by far like the better one-liner at the end, but this one is better. The more comedic scene between Jeff sort of being like, yeah, the rest of you go, let's hit it. He actually literally does say hit it as if he's, I don't know, from some sort of 80s action film to Boston Rob, and then just the glee that he feels when Boston Rob's able to do those donuts on the shore is unmatched, especially in a season like Survivor All-Stars. It's a rare bright spot.
Okay. All right. Let's hear the next moment on the list, Mike.
Well, let's say moments right now, because I have a little bit of a medley here, Rob. Well, Jeff loves to, banter back and forth with contestants that can not only dish it, but give it out as well. But there is no person that Jeff Probst has had more of a discourse with than the one, the only Jonathan Penner.
Okay.
And so what I have compiled are 3 different back and forths between Jeff and Jonathan Penner from Survivor Cook Islands, Survivor Micronesia, and Survivor Philippines. It's a full clip, but we'll hear them all, and then we'll talk about them.
We're gonna lose all our.
Guerrero just wasted a cannonball. They weren't paying attention, dropping it right through the chute. What's that?
No, please.
Jonathan getting frustrated by me. Eric drops the 4th tile for my call.
Bull. We say bull, bull, bull.
Penner, you got the same tiles, the same ropes.
I mean, my ass.
What? All right, you need to stop bitching and start throwing.
Just hitting him as hard as we can, Jeff.
10 seconds left.
Before what happens?
Before you got to get off the boat, brother. You played this game before.
So it really is a cascading of comments. And I know that I think the first 2 are more so regarded between Jonathan getting frustrated at me and I mean my ass. I stop bitching.
I mean my ass.
But I totally forgot about the third one. One of the first moments in Survivor Philippines where Jeff says like, oh, you got 10 seconds to get out of the boat. And Penner.
Or what?
Yeah, Penner does sort of what we all do at home, right? Like, what are they really going to do anything? Are they going to burn down the boat if they don't leave in time? And Jeff just sort of sasses them saying, you played this game, brother.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the great things about Penner, I think that his worldview on Survivor is always like, hey, they need us, just as much as we do have some agency here in how this plays out. Like, I think that he has I'm not sure if this is on the podcast or in conversations with him, that there's been times where production has told him to do something and he's been one to say, look, I'll start singing the Beatles catalog right now. I've got Penny Lane queued up, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was more so if I don't get off the boat in 10 seconds, then I'm going to start singing things that are in the public domain, and then you're really in trouble, Probst.
Yeah, that was a weapon. But they kept bringing him back because he's great TV. Yeah. So, boy, this is going to be tough to beat, Mary.
It is. It's one of my favorite relationships more so than like one individual moment. I mean, I always think about the cannonball one personally when I think of this, but it's so great to see someone who will kind of stand up to Jeff and be at that same level with him. He's gonna have more to say than Clay. If he's writing Denver Diva down, he's gonna have a whole speech about it. And so that relationship is so great. And the fact that it's got staying power and lasts through multiple seasons makes it even better. I love that recursion. So yeah. I think this is pretty high.
I mean, yeah, I might argue this is top tier because, like, this is when you think about Jeff Probst's interactions with contestants, Jonathan Penner definitely stands. I think because of its recursiveness, its recurring basis as well. There is no Jonathan Penner on Survivor without a scene of him bantering with Jeff Probst. He's now 3 for 3 with his appearances. What I also love, I think I like the first one the best, though, because it's a little bit of a meta commentary because around that time, that's when Jeff was starting to get a little bit more vocal with his challenge calling, right? Like, it's so interesting watching these early seasons where you just get the lower third that say, Pagong trailing, Tagi leading. And then around the middle of that is when Jeff really comes in and comments on stuff. And by the point it comes to Cook Islands, where he's just commenting on everything, Jonathan has had enough and just decides to talk back to him. And then Probst responds really funnily, in my opinion, with Jonathan getting frustrated by me, turning Jonathan speaking out against his own commentary into a form of commentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
great. It's going to be tough to beat this. This is 3 clips in one. It's a turducken of Penner. Let's see.
Which is which? I guess Cook Islands has to be the chicken, right? Because there was the whole thing where Jonathan stole the chickens and he got sent to Exile Island.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at the clips here. And so, all right. I see. Is this Penner with Jeff at the auction?
Yes, you can identify him by his mid-teens cowboy hat choice in Jeff's wardrobe. That is indeed them at the auction. A rare shot of the two of them in frame together.
Raro. Yeah.
Exactly. Arero and an I2.
Yes. All right. So, boy, this is strong. I think we have to start this, at least in my life, is fine.
I mean, I think it's the best one we have so far, for sure. And I would even put it in worth playing for.
I agree. I think at least for now, I'm fine putting it in a top tier. If we were trying to set a watermark at this point, if we're trying to drop a cannonball right now to try to hit a target of what is a funny capital F Jeff Probst moment, I think that the trilogy with Penner, the Penner trilogy, is probably the one to beat right now.
Okay. All right. No need for anybody to say my ass.
Exactly. I'd say to people that say this is too high, stop bitching and start throwing.
Okay. All right. Mike, what's the next clip that you have on the list?
Well, we're going to stay in Cook Islands for a second because that one was a little bit more of a long-term clip. This one is short and sweet, but we're going to go to Penner's other compatriot, fellow mutineer from Arero tribe, as Jeff would say at some point. When Candace gets voted out, she exchanges a smooch with her on-island BF, Adam Gentry, and
that was a
on
thing.
her
that happened.
that's a thing. That's absolutely a thing. And then on her way to get her torch snuffed, Jeff gets one final word in before ending Candace's game permanently.
Well, a kiss is nice. Maybe if it were love, he'd have given you the immunity necklace.
Oh,
Candace, tribe has spoken.
Good thing that torch is out because he just burned her.
Sick burn. Yeah. I mean, where's the lie, right?
No lies detected.
No lies detected.
Yeah, I think 10 times out of 10, Rupert is giving up the immunity necklace for Laura.
Yeah. Look, it's a relationship that has stood the test of time. Adam and Candace did not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Probst was making comments on it. He knew, right? Well, though, we'll talk later on about how maybe he doesn't have his finger exactly on the pulse when it comes to on-island romance, but at least in this case, you know what? He was there for Rob and Amber. He could say that, right? Like, I was there when the first Survivor couple truly came together. I know what love is. And this is not it, because you don't give up your immunity necklace if it's not love.
Yep. I've seen it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, I would say, yeah, if your man is not going to give you the immunity necklace when you're in trouble on Survivor, don't expect that relationship is going to stand the test of time.
Is that like
would you give up your immunity necklace for Nicole?
Well, I mean, I would have a better chance to win the game, Mary. I mean, that's a different story.
Oh, no. It's apples and oranges here.
Yeah. I mean, I won individual immunity. I mean, come on. Like,
but
I'm
Adam
right there,
given
Mary.
It to Candace.
Yeah, but
Adam should have given it to Candace.
Adam is in the wrong.
What was Adam going to say to the jury? Come on.
Yeah, this is a different circumstance here. It's night and day.
Yeah, be different story. But okay. All right. So what's the line again? Like a kiss is nice, but if it was love, he would have given you the necklace.
Yep, exactly. Which is interesting because this is one of the first times. So Jeff has had like little lines here and there that deviate from the tribe has spoken. I think when Lil gets voted out, he says like the elements have spoken, or I think it was maybe when someone got voted out in the rain. Yeah, he does like little things here and there, but this is the first time that he like throws in a zinger to someone as they get voted out, which is a little bit again of a deviation from Jeff's sort of pomp and circumstance that he usually does.
Okay. Adam and Candace with the kiss here.
Oh, I know Rob found that picture quickly.
Well, it is literally Adam and Candace kissing. It was very much on the nose.
Or on the lips.
Yes. Okay. All right. So where is this? Is it better or worse than the conch, Mary? Is this ratchet?
I don't know if it's ratchet. I do think it's. I remember the conch more than this actually, but if I'm going by what's like more lighthearted or funny, I mean, this is definitely the kind of thing that season 1 Jeff is not saying because he's not feeling comfortable enough to.
Well, he also wasn't holding the conch shell at the time to talk about it.
Well, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I'm really torn on this one because I do think it's a funny moment, but I probably would not have remembered it if you gave me 20 chances at thinking of Jeff moments.
Yeah, I might put it in Ain't No Hershey Bar right now. Like, I think in terms of humor, it's a funny one-liner, but I don't think it holds nearly as much weight as at least the other 3 above it.
Yeah. It's a fair zinger. It's not something that was super memorable to me either, but I don't feel like it's ratchet.
Yeah, exactly. It
I'm
doesn't
not
feel
mad
good.
at it.
It's not
It's
rat
fine.
cancer.
It's not my life is
Candace
fine.
called Jonathan.
Yeah. Let's leave it there.
We'll leave it there for now, but let's continue on sort of the note of Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think, she was a pain in his ass and when she was voted out. So I think Jonathan was all too happy to see Candace get zinged on the way out the door. We're going to jump ahead a couple seasons for this next one. We're going to Survivor China. We're going to the very end of Survivor China. We're going to the reunion of Survivor China, where there were some very interesting Jeff Probst moments. I decided to include one for the sake of this podcast. And I decided for the first time that we mention a reunion on this podcast, let's mention someone else's first time, perhaps. Or is it? This is Jeff talking about the then fledgling romance.
Yes.
Speaking of other romances between Jamie Dugan and Eric Huffman.
So, Eric, on the show, it's very clear that you are a virgin. Right?
The only thing better than $1 million is $1 million and some.
No.
So it begs the question, Eric, dating Jamie, are you still a virgin? Of course.
Yeah, so Jeff Probst just asked if 2 Survivor contestants have sex. Like, let's just like put that out there right now.
Yeah.
The part that I find most interesting about this is when he says, on the show, it was very clear that you're a virgin. Not like it's clear because you say it, which is what it is. He's like, yeah, just looking at you, I can tell. It's clear on the show. And that's, hey, you know what? He calls it out.
Yeah.
This is probably top 5, but not top 1 cringiest thing Jeff has said at a reunion. But it's up there.
So I don't remember the story, and I have not rewatched China. Was Eric talking about like I'm waiting for the right person to get married, or is just like I've never met anybody? I don't remember exactly what part of his story this was.
So he is very religious, and if I do remember from actually Survivor China, it was like him and Jamie and PG would be talking in the water, and he was having a little bit of puppy love for her at a time, sprouting that little matchstick of a flame for her at the moment, and he was saying, I as a virgin, I get a little hot and bothered by, I think, Jamie, she's a very attractive woman, and I think to Mary's point, that is where Jeff apparently takes the somewhat explicit nature of Eric's virginity and blows it out to 11.
Well, by 2019, this is not. If you watched any of The Bachelor in 2019, this is nothing new to be just calling out virginity left and right.
Eric would be The Bachelor in 2019.
Yeah. Well, not anymore, I don't think. I think him and his happy family. But I think that the part about the scene with Jamie and Eric that I mostly think of is while he's having this conversation, she's like swallowing and spitting out water in that just sticks with me. It's a very weird image when they're in that gross water. But
and in that moment,
Yeah, John Robert also with a callback to a not awesome line of his own.
Yeah, hey, Jeff might be creepy, but let me remind you who the biggest creep on this show is right here. My crown will never be taken from me. I'll rest on my laurels there. Yeah, I mean, but it's just, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. Jeff flat out asked Eric, so you guys do it yet? On live television in front of millions of people.
And the problem is, this is a wild moment, and it's very memorable. This is the definition of ratchet when it comes to something that someone could say. Now, I'm not saying that needs to be where it's ranked, because I did not label the tier that way. This is Rob's labeling. But this is just not the kind of thing you should say. And the problem is also, he's clearly looking over at Jamie and Eric and just I had nothing else to ask you at this reunion. So what are you, Eric? Yeah. You can make. Didn't he do some kind of animal noise too?
He did goat noises.
Right. I was goat noises and your virginity. Those are the only things I've got.
All right, let's see. It could do animal noises or hey Eric, Pigo in that V yet?
That's worse.
Could he have gotten away with that? Would that have worked better?
No, you can't get away with that right now. You can't.
All right, so I'm trying out lines from Jeff.
Sorry, Mary, what else do you have going on? Where else can people hear what you're up to, Mary?
Wrap it up, Mike. Wrap it up. Yes.
You know who would have done that? Bryant Gumbel would have done that. Bryant Gumbel would have done that.
Yeah, and then they were met by their virgin king.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on, please. Can you just find the picture for this?
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want to see the picture for this.
Okay, let's see. All right. What did Mike make the picture?
It was
is this
very
Jamie
clean.
and Eric?
Yeah,
okay.
It's very clean. Okay, it's Jamie and Eric.
All right.
Look at them.
I was thinking of making it a picture of the Virgin logo for the phone company, but I think that might be
Did they ever sponsor the phone challenge? Love challenge? No.
Exactly. Eric, something you'll really love. Virgin is sponsoring the phone call home.
Okay.
All right. So, see, Mary, this is why I didn't want to put the conch shell in for Get You Go Home Goodbye, because there would be stuff that was ratchet, and now the conch shell is here. The conch shell is not ratchet.
Wait, you can move the conch shell. I said that it was just temporary.
Yeah.
I needed to see what other. It's hard to put the first one on the board. I mean, this is not an okay moment, Jeff. This is weird.
All right. So there it is.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. But Mike, I think you make a good point that Bryant Gumbel definitely would have been Eric.
No, you wouldn't call him. They're like, or Ethan, tell me about what's going on with Jamu over here. I heard that you were a virgin.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I've seen the tapes.
All right. Let's go, Mike. What's the next clip for you?
All right, we're jumping ahead a few seasons, back to the season proper. Heroes versus Villains. One of the all-time most acclaimed seasons, one of the most all-time acclaimed cast. One of them happens to be Boston Rob. Boston Rob, shockingly voted out in 13th place. Jeff Probst will not make the villains forget that they voted out Boston Rob. Here is a clip from the next tribal council after Boston Rob is voted out, where Jeff does not necessarily remain neutral when it comes to his thoughts on the villain's decision-making when it comes to who to vote out.
We thought what we did was the right thing to do.
But in a physical challenge, the only person who won a point today was Coach. And if given the choice of Tyson or Boston Rob over, say, Courtney, I think 99 out of 100 people would probably pick Tyson or Boston Rob. No disrespect.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Gosh.
So, yeah, Jeff is very heavy-handed with basically saying, well, you shouldn't have gotten rid of Boston Rob and Tyson when Courtney's just sitting there.
She was one of the people that wanted to keep Boston Rob.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think she points that out, and it wasn't shown in the clip. She's like, I didn't vote out Boston Rob, just so you know, Jeff. Please don't direct your anger towards me.
Yeah.
It's so poor Courtney.
Courtney,
if Boston Rob's my favorite, Courtney's like a very close second.
Yeah. But in fairness, Mary, you would have been a lot meaner to the contestants who voted out Boston Rob, right? Where do you get off?
I mean, yes, but like I feel like I could have also like Tyson'd it somehow. I feel like that would not be that unheard of.
And speaking of that, he clearly mentions you could have done better with Boston Rob or Tyson, but I think it's very clear that I'm sure Tyson was thrown in as like an addendum in his logic, right? Of like, it won't sound too bad if I mention someone else besides Boston Rob, to not just underline the fact that I think Boston Rob should still be here.
I feel like you should have been like, yeah, what about Randy? You could have had Randy. Randy could have got a point. This is another one. This is sort of on par with, I think, a couple ones we have on this list that are like Jeff getting a little too comfortable at tribal council, kind of just inserting himself into the narrative.
His ties loosened at this point.
Yeah, he's a few seasons down the line. He's reached 20. He's like, I'm now in with it. I can say whatever I want. I can clearly be biased and pick on people who are still in the game. I don't think anywhere in the first several seasons, Jeff is going to be calling out one individual person, be like, why didn't you vote them out? Come on. Like that's blatantly putting a target on Courtney's back.
Yeah. Do you feel like that there's a shift from where we are at this point in the game where he sort of like has an agenda that he's trying to force, where now like maybe we're like going like too far in a different direction of like, okay, let's talk about that, like where we're like really exploring like things that are like maybe like just too much of like into like all right, well, we're on the therapist's couch as opposed to really like trying to like hit these bullet points from the game.
Well, I think what makes this situation a bit unique is that these are all returning players, right? Like the tone I'm getting from Jeff's delivery in that clip is like, you should know better. You've all played this game multiple times before. You know these challenges are coming up. I don't understand your decision making. And that feels a little distinctly different than like some of the blunders that other tribes make, where you can more so chalk it up to like, okay, these people are learning how to play Survivor. I do think at this point there's some dismissiveness of these are some of the most legendary people to play the game, and they voted out Tyson and they voted out Boston Rob, and they're losing all these challenges. Something's not clicking here.
Well, and it's a point that he's made very early on in the seasons. You'll have him talk about in early seasons like, this was a physical challenge. You guys appear to be taking out a lot of your physical players. Somebody talk about, answer a question related to why you're doing that. But here he's calling out specific people and then calling out people in the tribe still of who they should have gotten rid of instead of.
I love the best part is that
it's the
says like,
bit.
Yeah, he could have said like, mention someone else on the other tribe, like Amanda or Rupert or something. But instead he says, oh no, like you, Courtney, the one who is currently still in the game and has a vote at tribal council tonight.
Yeah, and I think that I hear what you're saying about returning players, but at the same time, they could also easily throw back like, yeah, we're returning players. That's why we got rid of Boston Rob, who's, So I think it can go either way on whether or not he really did something based on it being returning players or not. But I think that this was just very, very biased on his part, clearly.
Yeah, maybe it's like a mental block on my part, but I can't think of like a time like recently where he's scolding players like based on like their decisions of who they're voting off.
Well, we'll actually get to that very soon.
Yeah. Okay.
There's around this era, I do think, is when not only does Jeff sort of step up more into the executive producer role, but I think he becomes a bit more comfortable at tribal council. And as a result, I think he's able to maybe throw out some more conjecture as to, okay, I've seen enough seasons and experienced enough seasons of Survivor at this point to sort of get a sense as to what people should or shouldn't be doing optimally.
Okay. All right. Let's see where we place this on the board, and let's take a look at what Mike has for us. And I see... is this Robin Tyson? Is this it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
It's the what could have been. This is what Jeff's imagining as he's scolding Courtney right now for not being them.
This is not Ratchet, right?
Ratchet.
That's Boston Robin Ratchet.
Yeah, it's not. It's above this because it is.
It's not like cringy, I would say. It's definitely not. I think the humor actually comes from not only just sort of the jaw-dropping aspect of like, oh my God, did he actually do that? But Courtney's very fantastically snide, thank you, Jeffrey, back to him.
Yeah. So I think that this is along the zingers that we have here.
Okay. All right. So is it better than Adam and Candace?
I think it's better than Adam and Candace, just mostly because the people involved are more.
Is it in my life is fine?
I don't think so. I think things like Rob in the car and Hello, My Name Is, I think those are still like more memorable, iconic moments. This is something that admittedly I didn't even remember, when I was sort of recounting these for the list. And I'm so happy that people brought it up. But I think it's also a nice representation, again, of how Jeff approaches tribal council sometimes. I would personally put it below Adam and Candace.
Yeah, I was just rethinking that, actually. I was thinking that as like a singular moment, if you're just playing the clip, unless you know that Rob and Tyson have been voted off and really know everything that's going on, the kiss moment is a little more standalone.
Yeah.
All right.
Sit together. All right. So let's go to next season here, and similar 21 clips. Survivor Nicaragua has quite a few Jeff Probst moments, and I picked a couple. Picked a couple out here. First, let's talk about Jeff Probst's response in the Loved Ones Challenge in Survivor Nicaragua, when I believe it's Chase wins, and I think he takes Sash and Holly with him. And they're asked what's going to happen to the other three people. And Jeff has a rather uncouth response.
Chase, bring one more person with you, one more survivor and their loved one.
I know this is going to hurt some people's feelings. I'm going to take Holly.
Holly and Charlie, come on over.
What happens to the rest of them?
They will be taken and executed. Any good challenge.
I don't know why I saw that coming. I didn't remember this, but I was thinking he was going to say taken and executed. Yeah, this is weird.
That was memorable. That does seem out of character, that he does not typically like answer the contestants like in a very sarcastic way. And that this is also the weird thing about this, that Mike, do you remember that this was in the coming attraction?
Yes, I have the clip right here, Rob. The previous episodes, next time on, decided to use this clip very out of context. Here's what you're going to experience next week on Survivor.
At the challenge, the winners get enough luxury to keep them strong until the end.
Oh, man.
And as for the losers, they will be taken and executed.
So, in Survivor Nicaragua, it was hyped up that Jeff Probst would kill the losers of the challenge to watch next week, 8 o'clock on Wednesday on ABC, on NBC.
Tune in.
So this is like if you had an improv show and there's like a blooper from it or something. This is like the kind of thing that you would find on the deleted scenes. Like, oh, okay, Jeff, that was funny. Haha. Let's try again. Let's answer that. We can't put that in.
Yeah, it's like what they would do. They talk about this a lot in like The Office, for example, where they do alternate takes. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
that's what I was thinking of.
Try one for fun. Do a little bit of improv. And Jeff's like, okay, for this one, we're gonna cut your head off. And they're like, oh, you know what? Let's keep that one. I think that one's really gonna hit home with the kids watching.
It's that, and I think some of this certainly comes from Jeff not loving all of Nicaragua while he's out there, and probably just be like, oh my gosh, I just can't even with you.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the rest of them? They're going to go back to camp. What do you think?
Right.
They're going to be taken and executed.
This is an incredible clip, because I feel like that this is the kind of thing that if you just took the clip of this moment and like put it on TikTok, like people would just be blown away that this was a real thing that actually happened in an episode of Survivor.
If like some publication gets a hold of like 50 moments you didn't know happened on Survivor, they actually executed people who
we'll
lost
do that.
the
So
reward
we'll
challenge.
put this on the RHAP TikTok.
Oh,
Let's
I like
see what
that.
happens. Yeah.
But then are we do what, like the take him and execute him challenge?
I don't know.
Like you're about to like snack into a pack of hot dogs. Like what's going to happen to them? They're going to be taken and executed. You take a big bite out of them. I don't know
snack
how TikTok
into
works.
a pack of hot dogs.
Yeah, don't kids do that nowadays?
Is that a TikTok challenge?
Yeah, does everyone snack into a pack of hot dogs?
Mary, do you ever snack into a pack of hot dogs?
All the time.
That's
what we do over on Twitch. We're just snacking our
you snack into a pack of hot dogs.
Pack of hot dogs.
Yes.
What is this? Wait, Mike,
I don't know. Mary, your guess is as good as mine.
I don't know.
I made like a pasta with hot dogs, ground beef, and everything I found around the house.
Make like a beef sauce.
Yeah, you just stack it into a pack of hot dogs with the beef sauce. I don't see what the problem is. It's a TikTok challenge.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the list. What did Mike do here? All right. Let's take a look, and they will be executed. Is this the executing, Mike?
Yeah, this is the least gruesome picture of execution I could find on the internet, surprisingly enough. So RIP to the government coming after my search results, I suppose, from now on.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my 7-year-old the other day about the word. I said something about of something was going to be executed, or there was like in a movie they talked about like something like a plan was executed, and he's like, Dad, that's a bad word. I'm like, nah, not really. I mean, I guess you could like you could execute a plan. That's not bad. It's not killing somebody.
Right. It's more so, I think, like official. But I think, unfortunately, the officiality also crosses over into, government proceedings and doing away with people.
Yeah, I do think that the question was that in spoiler alerts, the Revenge of the Sith, I believe that the Emperor executes Order 66, which is to execute.
No, that is bad.
Yeah, that is bad.
But
devouring those younglings like a pack of hot dogs.
I love this idea that your son thinks that if something is bad, then therefore the word is a bad word.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say execute.
You're not supposed to say execute it.
Yes. All right.
So I think this goes in, at least in my life, is fine because it is so WTF.
Yeah. No, I think it should be up there with Penner.
Yeah.
I think
you think it should be worth playing for? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell me why.
I can't believe this was a thing that was said on the show. This is an insane clip. When people see it on TikTok, they're going to say, wait, what?
You know what this is like? This is very much like if they had kept in the part where Jeff yelled at you about your musical speech. If they had kept that in the show and he was like, Rob, you are going to be taken and executed and we're never going to play that on air. That's what that would be like. It's him snapping at the contestants in a very deleted scene like way.
Yeah, and we've seen misleading next time ons before, right? Like, oh, next time on, Boston Rob might collapse. What happened to Russell Swan? This is next time on Survivor, corporal punishment will happen. We are going to stage a mass execution of people who lose a challenge. That is truly beyond the pale.
Mary, do you think this is too high?
No, I don't think it's too high. I think the Penner clip is better.
It's 3 clips. How could it compete with 3 Penner clips?
Right, exactly. So I think this is good. I think that we could probably potentially get some in between the Penner clip and this, but this is pretty good for now.
Okay. Mike, do you have any problem with this being this high?
I'm good with it for now. I do think,
Mike doesn't like it.
No, I like it. I just still can't believe it. I still can't believe that, like, Jeff's
It's no pack of hot dogs.
It's no pack of hot dogs, but I'm willing to nibble on it a little bit. I won't go the full 12 pack, but maybe like 8 or 9.
I do not know what we're talking about, but let's keep moving.
All right, so let's stay on Survivor Nicaragua here because, look, Jeff Probst has opened himself up personally to so many of us over the course of 20 years. But there's one thing we really don't know much about, is Jeff Probst's family. Luckily, he's here to clue us in a bit as to how his mom might respond to some of the goings on. And like you asked before, Rob, does Jeff Probst speak out on what contestants should be doing in tribal council? You look no further than the season after the Courtney Boston Rob Tyson debacle, as Jeff and channeling his mother talks to Dan Lembo and Fabio.
You have 3 people just told you flat out that there is a 3-person alliance. There are 3 other people, Dan, Fabio, and Jane. So let me ask you the question that my mom would want asked, which is, why don't they have their own alliance and try to do something or force a vote? It seems crazy.
So Jeff's mom does watch the show, and I think a lot of survivors have met his mom. A lot of the survivors that I've talked to over the years, myself included, have met Jeff's mom at the finale because traditionally the spring finale was always on Mother's Day. Jeff would have his mom come out, and she, like any good mom, is very interested in what her son is doing. So maybe she has very pointed questions.
So, as someone who has met his mom, how was the impression? How accurate?
Does she sound like this? Does she sound like a parrot?
Yeah. And I think he probably could have asked the question without doing the voice.
I detected, was there a little bit of a Midwest accent in there? A little bit like, you gotta force a tie,
Yeah. Oh, I do believe Jeff is from Kansas.
That is mid-country. I don't know if it counts as being in the Midwest, but yeah, I don't know. I can't
the
say
mid.
The mid. I can't understand how
mid-central. Yeah.
how accurate the impression is. I just love that Jeff is out. Well, Jeff mentions his family sometimes, right? Like he'll always be like, my nephew can do that better than you. I think he says James and Heroes.
That happened in Survivor One World.
Yeah, like Alicia, my nephew could outthrow you, and James, my nephew could outrun you. Apparently this nephew is like a superstar. But I just love that he is Eddie Murphy nutty professor style, like putting on the mom wig and dress for a second and doing an impression of how she would be watching this episode and speaking on the couch.
I wonder if he's thinking, okay, I need to insert myself. It's Nicaragua. It's the final 6 or whatever. I need to bring myself in and tell these players they're doing something wrong. But I got flack last season for really just sharing my opinion. So if I pretend that it's my mom, and maybe it won't be as biased, right? Because it's not like I'm saying it. It's like my mom is.
That's a very good point. It's, oftentimes the message is less important than the messenger. If you're communicating it from Jeff Probst, might hit a bit more harshly than if it's coming from Jeff Probst's mom.
Right. If one of those people left is like, hey, Jeff, stop interfering. Get out of there. Hey, it's not me. It's my mom.
Why are we saying that now Jeff's mom has possessed him?
Well, with that voice.
Yeah. It's also, he's kind of insulting his mom a little bit. Sort of like saying that she's sort of like the most basic of like Survivor fans, of like, even she would know that why wouldn't you just make your own alliance? Like, you are playing so terribly. My mom, who I don't know, she doesn't even really get the show, would be calling out this strategy because it's so bad.
I think we did unlock something interesting, in the unfortunate happenstance, if Jeff Probst were ever to leave the show, could he pull a Mrs. Doubtfire, dress up like a woman, put on his mom voice, and come back as a completely new host?
Talk this through with me, Mike. What is the scenario where Jeff no longer wants to host Survivor as himself? But did Jeff Probst get fired, perhaps? And then he got dumped like Robin Williams' character in Mrs. Doubtfire. And then he applies to host the show as a different person?
Yes, Marcia Most. I love Survivor. Always been watching. At the final 6 in Nicaragua, they should have forced the tie. That's how much I know the show.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a pretty good movie. I think he could make this on his spare time.
Yeah, and
I think Doubtfire making challenge.
Exactly. I was going to say
Mrs. Doubtfire tokens.
In Survivor, Mrs. Doubtfire represents your life.
Just don't get too close to those flames during the fire making challenges, or if there are any pot lids handy. Otherwise, Marcia Most is going up in flames.
Right. Okay. Let's look at Jeff's. Even my mom would know to do that. I'm going to start using that on the podcast of like, my mom watched the show and she said, oh, why didn't they just vote this person out?
Well, Rob, your mom, once upon a time, was the star of the very first Bright Still we did. So she has a lot of Survivor expertise there.
What's better, Jeff, Mrs. Doubtfiring as his mom or as his Cajun grandma?
Oh,
Cajun
yes.
grandma.
Unfortunately, that did not make the cut since it technically wasn't on the show. But yeah, Jeff wanton desire at one point to have a Cajun grandma narrate Survivor is certainly up there with an interesting wish list in the mind of Jeff Probst.
Okay. All right. Mom clip, definitely not Ratchet. Let's move it up to Ain't No Hershey Bar. Okay. Mary, talk us through. Where should the mom clip go?
I mean, I like it better than the Robin Tyson thing, actually. I know it's I feel like it's similar to that, right? We're kind of on par with this, but it's not so, it doesn't make me as angry as that one because I don't feel bad for Courtney in the clip. And it's just it's weirder because he's doing the impression.
Yeah, I think it has much more comedic potential. It's less mean and more so like meanness shrouded in, okay, why are you putting on a character exactly to do this? It's definitely, I think it's above Adam and Candace as well. My question is, does it reach My Life is Fine?
So better than Adam and Candace.
I think so.
Get to the next year.
Because I think the WTF-ness of the voice sort of ends up beating out the one-line zinger to Candace.
I'm good with leaving it here. I don't think it needs to go that high. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, it's not as memorable as the Denver Diva thing. It's not as funny as the.
I didn't remember this. Yeah.
So I think I would keep it here. I remembered that he did a mom impression, reference his mom, but I couldn't tell anything other than that, like when or where it was. But so I think this is good.
Well, when Marsha Most comes back to host Survivor 52, we'll know her origin story. We'll send it right to the top of this list in retrospect.
Okay. Mike, what else do you have for us?
Next season, Survivor 22, Boston Rob's Finest. You all knew this was coming.
Mary's
Come
favorite.
on. Here we go. Immunity challenge. Post-family visit. Rob's wearing an interesting piece of apparel. Jeff's going to make a comment on it.
Andrea has her second board. Grant has his first board. Rob struggling to get up these steps. He is literally carrying his family on his back.
Boston Rob is literally carrying his family on his back.
Yeah, it's not literally.
Yeah, I think he's kind of along the middle school girl level of remembering what literally means. So this is very memorable and it's very often quoted.
It's iconic. I would say
it's very iconic.
It might be the best piece of challenge commentary Jeff Probst has ever said because it is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, we quoted it a ton at the time, and it is one that's stuck with us for many, many years. Is it funny? I don't know, but it was memorable.
I'm trying to think of like, I mean, it's so quotable. It's biased.
I mean,
it's Rob Stanley. It's definitely the kind of thing that I would say if I was in Probst's position.
Yeah, the humor comes from the fact that it is tour Boston Rob, right? Again, it's still sort of buying into this hype that came with that fist bump during that donut in the pickup truck, and now it is fully blossomed into this weird flower by season 22. But the humor comes from the fact that he doesn't mean for it to be funny. Right, it's unintentional humor. I don't think Jeff's like, "Ooh, this is going to be a little."
Oh, it wasn't meant to be a joke.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's where some of the humor.
Not like we'll execute them. Yeah,
yeah. That was more so a joke that didn't come across properly. This was more so something that wasn't meant to be a joke that became a joke.
No, this was in Jeff's mind, a very emotional, intense moment, and he's like, "Oh my gosh." This is the kind of thing that people are going to be sitting on the edge of their seats. They're all rooting for Rob. He has just, had the family visit where he got the shirt and now he's got the picture on his back and he's struggling to get up those stairs and he's so close to the win. And it's this really emotional, big moment. And I'm going to say this really powerful thing about how he's literally carrying his family on his back. And then people are going to requote it and, make fun of me for years to come.
And maybe even Boston Rob was really, hey, Jeff, you went a little too far on that one.
Yes, he's like gassed that line down, like, what was that comment about my back?
Jeff, take it easy. You're embarrassing me.
Ease off the gas a bit, Probst.
That guy knows his way around a truck. Okay.
And a joke.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see. Where's the family literally carrying a family on his back? Okay.
I think this is top tier.
Top tier. Okay.
This is an iconic moment.
Well, hold on. Let's put it next to the other
the
Boston
picture
Rob.
You chose for this? You couldn't get a picture of him running up the pyramid?
No, because I want to do what Jeff was imagining in his mind's eye.
In the picture, we have like the white, I don't even know what you would call this thing.
It's like one of those like sculpting model things that you get from like an art store.
Let me just tell you, when I looked at this, only now that I know that this is supposed to be carrying someone on our back, is this what I thought it was. I thought this was way more inappropriate than it actually is.
Oh, no.
So you thought if Eric Huffman looked at this, he would have to look away.
I did not realize this was someone's back that they were being carried.
Oh, because they don't have any facial features.
Yeah, I thought they might have been facing each other.
But Mary, you have to look at the feet. You have to look at the feet.
Sorry.
The feet are... Look at which way the feet are facing, Mary.
Okay, I see it now. See it now. Maybe you could have drawn a face on it for me. But okay.
All right. Boy, the people that are listening to the podcast are going to have to pause this and go watch the video. Yeah.
They're just effing stick figures, Mary.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes. Well, that's what she thought. Okay. All right. So, is this better or worse than Boston Rob and Jeff in Survivor All-Stars?
Well, so I think this is around the time, now that we've ranked 8 things or whatever, 9 things, that we need to decide, are we going for funny or are we going for memorable, iconic moments? Because it's more iconic. It's not as silly funny. Any of those individual quotes are more laughable, but this is way more iconic.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
And so I think it just depends. I think they both possess humor and iconicness. I think one just outweighs the other. I think the truck one is more so funny than it is iconic, and carrying on his back is more iconic than funny.
Okay. I'll say this. I don't think either are worth playing for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think the question is, how do you want to order them here? And My Life is Fine, but I don't think either of them are a top tier.
I like this at least above the truck, because not only is it more memorable, but it's also more bite-sized. This, and they're both actually similar, because I don't think Jeff is thinking that he's particularly purposely making a joke when he's fist pounding Rob Mariano in pure joy, saying, "Nice one, good job, Rob." I think that in both of these cases, he is just like letting his emotions out. He's letting his freak flag fly in a way. And so I do think that they both sort of have the same intention there. And I think that's why I would put carrying on his back above the truck.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, what do you have next for us?
All right, let's go back to a reunion, shall we? We're going to the Survivor Caramolin reunion, which is far and away, in my opinion, the most awkward reunion of all time, right? This is when you had Rudy.
Pre-jury. Yeah,
pre-jury sitting in the audience. You had Rudy sitting there with Richard sending a message. You had Boston Rob in the audience touting the Boston Rob rule book. There was a lot of stuff going on. And amongst all that, and Jeff Probst will also mention who's in attendance in this clip, Jeff decides to talk about how popular of a contestant Malcolm Freeberg is. And in doing so, he is going to do what he talks about many times, especially nowadays in modern Survivor discourse, how much Survivor is a big hit amongst children in the audience. And to prove that point, he is going to approach a lovely young lady in the audience and try to survey her as to what makes Malcolm just such an incredible Survivor contestant.
There are so many fans of yours and Cochran that are young people today, but we saw one earlier and I wanted to find out what it is. Jules, stand up. How are you?
Good.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Okay. Let me put my arm around you. Boston Rob's in front of you. Rudy's behind you. You are surrounded by Survivor royalty. What is it about Malcolm? All the little girls and boys like him.
That he is competitive, and
so is it the hair, or is it just that he's so good at everything?
I think both.
You took your time with that. Do you want to do Survivor? Is that something you would do one day?
I'm not sure. I think I'd have to have time to think about that.
Okay, I'm not asking you to be on the show right now. I'm just putting the thought in your head because you remind me of Andrea. Go up to Andrea.
Great segue, Jeff. Really just getting away from that situation.
Okay. Yes. Now, if you really want to feel old, I could tell you that Jules is actually now 34 years old.
Really?
That's how long. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. Jules would have been I mean, she wouldn't have been able to be on either tribe in Survivor Nicaragua, but leaning more towards the older person's tribe.
She's a Gen X person now. Yeah.
I don't think that math checks out.
Yeah. Pretty sure it does, Mary.
Want to feel old? This is Jules now. And it's a picture of Julie from Survivor San Juan del Sur.
Julie Wolf. Back row jury. Okay.
So
Back
this is rough.
Julie.
This is rough.
Okay. Now, was Jeff funny here? Like, it was a questionable decision to talk to the girl, and maybe she killed it in the rehearsal. Like, maybe this girl, like, Jeff met her backstage and she was like so much personality, but she froze up hard during the live reunion show.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It might have just been like cameras on her, but it's clear that like you could read this a couple of ways, right? Was Jeff trying to pull a specific answer out of her with the hair? Was he trying to sort of cover dead air and just throw something out there? And the first thing he can think of is Malcolm's hair. I think by far the funniest part of this is Jeff just responding to awkward silence by saying, "Is it the hair? Like, come on, come give me something. It's got to be the hair, right? It's so luscious and beautiful."
Yeah. I believe did they show the clip of Malcolm acting also in this, or did they just talk about that he was going to do this?
I think they just talked about that he was going to do it. I don't think they actually showed him acting at all.
Yeah. Okay. Mary, how do you feel about this clip?
This is like a touchy subject for me because this is not the only time he went to the kids in the audience.
Yeah.
And those moments always made me so mad because as a young person watching the show, at this point, who I believe was old enough to like submit tapes of their own, I'm like, Jeff, stop going to the kids. Look at the tapes we're submitting. Have your people on it. Stop telling kids that they could be it. Because when I was a kid, I would hear you tell them, and here I am, all grown up, and I'm somehow still not on the show. So that's
you want
advertising.
You want him to put him a dam. You want him to be like, no, please don't let people crowd the applicant pool.
I want him to pull the little kid and say, "You want to be on Survivor?" And she goes, "Maybe." And he goes, "Well, maybe, because a lot of people apply, and maybe you won't be."
Yeah.
I wanted some realism.
You want a dose of reality.
I do feel like that this is a turning point, that Jules, I believe, is the first kid that we recently rewatched Survivor One World, and Jeff goes and talks to Mayim Bialik and Colton's mom, random adults in the audience.
Right.
But I do believe that this is the first time that Jeff talks to a kid. But I do not believe that this is the I think this is the first of many times that Jeff will go on to talk to a kid. So Jules is so much of a historic figure where at some point Jeff has made the shift of Survivor. Hey, family show. This is now, if you grew up being a Survivor fan, now you can bring your kids in and watch it with your kids.
I think the problem is if he was just saying it's a family show, families can like to watch it. That's great. But it's the false advertising about and you can be on it too, young Malcolm. Andrea, sorry.
but the thing is that with him wanting to allegedly show more interest in bringing teenagers onto the show, Jules's dream is becoming a reality. Or I guess it's not her dream. She really is sort of iffy about the whole proposition.
Yeah, she's probably old enough now to be in the application pool. The moment is cringy, partially because of Jeff, partially because of Jules. I think I would hate to be anyone in that pre-jury who's like, really? We don't get to be on the stage, but this has airtime?
I ran into Corinne that night. I think she had some choice words.
I'm sure.
And none of them were appropriate for Jules specifically.
Probably not.
This does beg the question, though, Rob. How do you think Jeff Probst would fare as a Kid Nation host, the way he was interacting with the young Jules?
Oh, okay, interesting. All right, Jules, tell us. Would you like to go and play Survivor or go home with your parents, but you won't have a chance to win this gold star? Worth its weight in gold.
I mean, the conch shell really was like a form of rudimentary town council proposition, right? It does feel like something a 10-year-old will be like, all right, we're going to play the game with the conch shell.
Kansas City failed because we didn't have the conch shell, but you could learn lessons from us.
And it's interesting, actually. I believe in the initial cut when Jeff said, hey, you know what? You voted off Tyson and Boston Rob, and you should have voted off Courtney. Courtney said, deal with it.
Okay. All right. So this is a hard one to place. Maybe the hardest one yet Okay. All right. Because they probably shouldn't have been talking to Jules. Jeff doesn't say anything that's like inappropriate or he doesn't ask a bad question, really, I don't think here.
It's just more so the awkward. It's less so. It's the awkwardness.
It's awkward.
Yeah, it's awkward. Less cringy than awkward, but the awkwardness is still there of him clearly thinking that like he'll have a discourse with this girl. She's not giving him anything. He's trying to throw out bait by talking about Malcolm's hair as being the reason apparently why he's so good, and the competitiveness, which I think also unfortunately is the thing that unfortunately lumps Malcolm, I think, in retrospect with people like Ozzy and Joey Amazing. Malcolm is not that. Like, not all guys who have long hair are, especially that, but not all guys who have long hair on Survivor are like challenge beasts. Malcolm himself would admit, like, I'm no Ozzy. And I think that unfortunately Jeff is sort of drawing that comparison here.
I do think that maybe Jeff has learned some sort of a lesson from his time hosting Survivor of seeing Ozzy and Malcolm and Joe all like do well in challenges and have long hair, because I do think that we talked about this when we rewatched The Edge of Extinction, that Jeff's takeaway is like the hair. It's the hair.
Yeah.
The hair is doing it.
Long hair do care because that gets you voted out.
Okay. All right. But what are we doing here with Jeff and Jules? Let's get her away from Eric. Okay. Ain't no Hershey bar. Is this worse than the conch shell, Mary?
I mean, I'd rather hear Jeff talk about the conch shell. This is
okay.
This. I don't think that this one moment is that interesting. I think it's more like, remember all those weird times when Jeff talked to the kid?
Right. This is more so a representation of like when he did this, or like in the San Juan del Sur audience when he brought up like a white collar, a blue collar, and a no color person to represent the new season. Like this is, I think, a microcosm of all the weird Jeff Probst audience bits during reunions.
Yeah. There hasn't been one that's like, oh my God, that person was great. Get them on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I picked you out of the audience. Now you're a star.
That person killed it. Okay. All right.
That person looked like a combination of all the previous winners.
Oh God.
All right. Mike, what else do you have for us?
All right. Well, let's go to, we mentioned it before, Jules's future season, Survivor San Juan del Sur. This is from the very first episode. And Rob, this was a season full of pullable sound clips in RHAP's stead. And it starts right here when Jeff Probst is coaching, is probably a generous way to describe it, encouraging Val Collins along in the very first duel, Heroes Arena duel, I guess it was called. And he pulled out an iconic Jeff Probst quote.
Val struggling to get over that platform. Exile Island for the loser. Not a good way to start this game. Big woman. There you go. That's how you do it on Survivor.
There we go.
Big woman.
Did Jeff not remember Val's name on day one, do you think?
Firefighter. Oh no, she was police officer. I was confused.
Yeah, you have it backwards. Yeah.
So this is, again, we're talking about Jeff Probst challenge commentary. I don't think it's as OTT and ridiculous as Boston Rob literally carrying on his family on his back, nor does it have the history behind it. But Dig Woman is something that has superseded years and years of Jeff Probst challenge commentary.
It really is. And it's unlike the Jules thing. It's a thing that's recurring and comes back, but is also gold in this moment as well.
Yeah. I don't remember if I laughed at him. I guess I pulled the clip, so.
Big woman!
I just, because it was so, I don't know, it's so aggro, right? It's Jeff Probst putting on his like grunty yelling voice that he does during challenges where he like screams himself hoarse at certain points because he's just so into the investment of the competition. And it's just like bellowed from his gut. And that's what makes it, I think, more so visceral than like a dig woman. You know, that doesn't really sell it as much as just the energy behind it.
Dig, ma'am.
Dig, lady.
This is much more like TJ host of the challenge kind of vibe. It's much more like I want really good performance out of everyone in competitions, and I'm going to really not just tell them like, hey, you're a little behind, you might want to catch up. Like I'm going to yell at them and get them their best performance. So,
to be fair though, I don't think TJ Lavin would bellow out a dig woman. He'd be more like, dig woman. You killed it.
Maybe he'd be more like, I was really disappointed that you didn't dig, woman, during this challenge.
And that's the great thing as well, is that, like there was no literal digging here. She was unwrapping herself around ropes to get to the next part of the course.
Dig deep. Yeah.
Yeah, but he skipped the middle word. He just said dig, woman. And so imagine if Val was just like, okay, and just starts digging in the middle of the sand, hoping that was the savior.
Has he used this on a digging challenge?
No, I think he's only done it, ironically enough, when there are challenges that don't involve digging is when he uses the dig deep metaphor. When there actually is literal digging, I think he feels it's a bit too on the nose.
Yeah. I do feel like that you got to dig deep is like a pseudo Survivor catchphrase. I feel like it's even been like the answer to like a puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, it's no all the fixins, but I actually do believe you got to dig deep. I think that maybe that's one that Sierra solved. I think
that sounds familiar. Yeah. Okay.
So this is like Jeff's shorthand. What if I did, instead of dig deep, woman, I just say dig, woman, and it creates something entirely iconic on its own.
Well, you got to commentate on the fly. You got to do it fast. So makes sense.
All right. So let's see where this is, and I can tell you that this one is we have a woman digging.
Yeah, that's the dig woman.
That's the dig woman. Okay. All right. This is not Ratchet.
Is this on Survivor? What is this?
No, it's just a lady
that's digging.
This lady I found digging on the beach.
Okay. Mary, talk us through, where should the dig woman go?
I mean, in terms of iconicness, it's quoted very often. It's quoted almost as much as the carrying their family on the back. I'm not saying it needs to be right there, but it's close. It's up in this direction. It's almost been quoted so much that it doesn't sound so weird anymore, though.
It's been normalized.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think it at least belongs in My Life is Fine. I think it's one of, and I think partially, like, is it remembered that much outside of this particular fandom? No, but we are that particular fandom, so like we are going to be a bit biased about it. I mean, it made the soundboard. This is one of the very rare Jeff Probst clips to make the soundboard. I feel like that has to say something.
Yeah.
Dig woman!
Well, I feel like that when I look at the board here, and I'm trying to put the pattern together, I feel like that Jeff over exuberant exclamations, like I do kind of feel like that it's closest to Boston Rob literally carrying his family on his back.
Yeah, but I like carrying his family on his back more than Dig Woman, because I think there's more history there. It is a much more ridiculous image. It's an improper thing. I think I like that more than the sickness of Dig Woman.
Okay.
Well, you picked the image, and the image is more ridiculous.
I also realized from afar that it looks less like a woman and more like Brian Ulrich from Survivor 35 digging.
Digging on a beach is like trying to find your car keys when you've lost them in that little console, like right in between that and
they're not in my pants.
So right now Dig Woman is in between Boston Rob literally carrying his family on his back, and Boston Rob is knows how to handle a truck.
It's riding shotgun right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where it gets tricky, because I do think the Dig Woman is more quotable, more memorable, not as laughable, haha, funny, but we're really using the funny term as marketing,
loosely,
right?
Yeah.
It's loose.
So, Mary, what should we do?
I think it's good where it is, personally.
Okay. All right.
I'm fine putting it either right above or below, above Rob the truck. I don't know if it should go below Denver Diva.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's leave it where it is, and we can always reassess. Okay. Michael, what else do you have?
Speaking of keeping things where they are, Jeff Probst can occasionally be self-effacing. And speaking of faces, let's go to Survivor Worlds Apart, when during one tribal council, Jeff is going to unintentionally register a certain emotion that Shireen is going to pick up on. And it's going to cause Jeff Probst to actually be a bit open about maybe some work that he does. And I'm not just talking about Survivor.
We all gelled really quickly in a way that White Collar never did. And you're making a face.
I am?
Yes. Like I'm delusional. No, okay, sorry.
Wait. No, I'm hold on. Okay. Let me check myself because maybe the Botox isn't working. It seems weird that I would make a reaction to you saying it feels like a new home. That seems like an ordinary comment to make.
Okay, you just look really intense.
Okay, well, that's just me.
Okay.
Didn't you hear me say, dig woman? I'm just intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I remember this was a big thing at the time. Like, what did Jeff Probst just say? He just mentioned Botox on his own accord on Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that this is a more memorable Shireen clip than a Jeff clip. I mean, the Botox part, sure, is interesting. For me, this is very Shireen seeing in Jeff what she's subconsciously feeling about how she's talking. So
Mary's not loving it.
Is this where? Yeah, but I'm not supposed to be analyzing the history of the conversation. Is this Jeff subtly trying to like clap back at people claiming he has Botox, or is this where the rumor started?
I don't think it's a rumor. I think this is an admission.
I mean, he's outright saying it. Like, yeah, I got Botox. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I could
normalizing
feel like
it.
If this, yeah, I could see that. I could see this being more like if ever, haha, well, you all say I have Botox, guess it's not working, kind of thing.
No, I think it's more so just like a self-effacing joke more than anything of like, yeah, I get Botox, it's fine. Like,
I mean, I don't think
Botox
that he's like Dr. Will, where people are like that. I don't think that's like a thing of Jeff Probst of like Botox.
Yeah, though, I mean, listen, if he wants to come back as Marsha Most, he might have to have some more work done.
Oh, I think the Jeff Probst Botox thing, the reason I ask it is because it's a thing that I've heard many, many times of people talking about. Like, the Jeff Probst never ages thing. And I was just wondering if that came from this or if that came before or after this clip is what I was wondering.
I think he's basically like maintained like a similar look for, basically the 20-year run of the show. I think that's probably more where it comes from. I don't remember a lot of people talking about Jeff Probst Botox before this, but I thought it was a funny admission on his part.
Right, it's not exactly like the Inquirer's running a frontline piece of like, Jeff Probst, what's going in his forehead? And I think it's more so Jeff just sort of poking fun at himself, which surprisingly he doesn't do too much at this point in the show. I do feel like as he gets a little goofier, I think, as we talked about with the voices, as we get into the 30s, especially as we're about to experience, like I think he's more able to open himself up to talking about sillier topics, either intentionally or unintentionally. And I think the Botox is sort of the gateway into that.
Right. At this point, he's only being silly about his mother, not himself.
Yeah, exactly. So. Listen, I can make fun of my mom, but not myself.
Okay. All right. Here's the Botox injection lady. Okay. And so, Mary, this is not Ratchet. I feel like that you are not super enthusiastic about
it's just
this.
It's not like particularly memorable to me. I think the conversation around Jeff and Botox, like I did not remember that he had said this in particular, but I also haven't rewatched that season in a while, so I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm kind of
I'll bring more insight
ambivalent
tomorrow.
on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rob, I don't know if you're at the point where he said this actually. It's in the pre-merge.
So, all right, let's go ahead and should the Botox be better than the young Jules here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give this a facelift here. I think it should be near the top of Ain't No Hershey Bar. Okay. In my opinion, I think it's a funny moment
better
from
than
Jeff
the conch
Probst.
shell.
I think it's a fun, like, Jeff Probst poking fun at himself, which he sometimes never does, especially at this point in the show. And I think it's a good one-liner, too. I think it's a legitimately good one-liner in response to Shireen catching him making a face and him responding by saying, oh, is the Botox not working?
If you had this one and then the mom clip back to back, which one do you find to be more either funny or shocking or whatever?
Yeah, he does do a voice in the mom clip.
Right, so would you rather have Jeff make fun of his mom or make fun of himself?
I think the thing is that if I wasn't paying close enough attention when I was watching it, I could have missed the Botox one line, whereas I'm not missing the speech where he's pretending to be his mom.
Okay, so I'm fine putting it right here for now.
Okay. All right. Mike, what's next?
Let's skip ahead to Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. And with the generational divide, Jeff Probst had a lot of conversation pieces to be had. For the first one, we go to the first tribal council of Gen X in episode 3 as we answer an age-old question that truly divides the generations for years to come.
Sunday, do you text?
Oh, yeah.
When you write the word you, as in see you later, do you spell Y-O-U or do you use the letter U?
I spell Y-O-U.
I spell Y-O-U.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty interesting because the millennials will tell you the language is changing and you can change with us or you can just be an old fogey. But it's more efficient. It is more.
There's something about efficiency, but there's also something poetic about language.
And vital.
Apparently.
Look, I am a happy old fogey. So
yeah, I think if you say the word fogey, I think you are a fogey.
Yeah,
I don't even think young people know what a fogey is.
If you want to know who's the hidden Gen Xer, it's whoever uses the word fogey. You know what? I don't even think Gen Xers. I think if you're the hidden boomer if you use the word fogey.
See, this is the thing about this is at the this is at the Gen X Tribal Council, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know if this was at the beginning, if he did a poll of who spells you which way. I'm thinking more than half of the entire cast is spelling it Y-O-U. I don't think this is I think more than half of the millennials are spelling it Y-O-U.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of them, I don't know, Taylor probably spells it with a wingding or something, but I think everyone else probably spells it Y-O-U.
Yeah.
Sure. This is classic Jeff pushing a theme really hard.
Yeah.
It's so shoehorned in, and I love it. That legitimately a conversation at Tribal Council that has nothing to do with strategy, nothing to do with camp life. It's Jeff pulling an Andy Rooney, you ever notice how you and Y-O-U are used by kids and adults in conversations? Language is evolving.
Yeah. And he didn't get into, all right, well, what about the later? Now, do you write out the word later? Or do you write it L8R?
Are we Avril Lavigneing this or what?
It takes me a longer time to figure out how I would spell later with an 8 than it would to just write out later.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is at least it's not game interfering.
I love this. I love it so much. It's so random, and it's such a great representation of how these themes that you try to approach, especially when it comes to cast themes, how they really try to spend those first few tribal councils really trying their hardest, and I give them kudos for at least trying to do so. Right? It's what's printed on the buff. Try to bring it into the conversation, but when you are transcending an island that has no form of textual technology outside of pen and parchment to Here's a question. How do you text? Let me just throw that out there at your first tribal council. Just wondering how you text. It is a truly surreal moment in Survivor.
Hey, I don't like people who like the same things, whether it be pizza or how they text or how they spell the word you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's see where we have this. And I see this one's an easy one here for Mike. We have the phone texting you.
I wonder who's on which side.
Okay, yeah. One is Ken from Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, and the other is Jeff Probst.
You ever see the beauty in a question mark? It's curvaceousness like a squid's tentacle.
See,
All
I
right.
think I'm probably not I'm going to be on the opposite end of the spectrum of wherever Mike is, because this just makes me roll my eyes, and not in a fun way.
Yeah, I like this. I feel like that Mary and Mike have not been on the same page for a while.
We're really on opposite sides of this, which is great. I love that sense of competitiveness. It's what makes Malcolm such a great Survivor player, besides the hair.
To me, this is down with Jules.
Wow.
So I'll let you guys take it away.
Jules with a U or Jules with a J-Y-O-U?
J-Y-O-U, hell yes. Jules.
Okay. Boy, so you think that this is really bad, Mary?
Wow,
we don't even have enough spaces to
you
fit
have
them
to
all.
Start a second line for Ain't No Hershey Bar.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's. I I think it's bad just because it's like, this is not to me so much Jeff saying something particularly funny. I think you could put like, this is any adult who's like trying to connect with the youths and come up with something. This is your teacher who's like 2 years after Friday comes out being like, hey, did you hear that song Friday? It's a Friday. Let's play it on the... No, stop. It's like a year too late. Nobody is texting you anymore at the time that this is coming out. Jeff, stop being so... Like, this is just everybody's either rolling their eyes or they actually text you and they're like, yeah, no big deal.
Oh, Nathan Jacob Michael Thomas with a great way of spelling jewels. JY0U $3.
That's her password.
That's the way she's going to appear on Survivor 50. She finally applied for the show, but under that pseudonym.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that Jeff was really trying to prove a point of like, hey, you guys are old. I'm more like the millennials.
No, I love.
Yeah, but he said old fogies, so he is not.
I love that though. This is
shooting himself in his foot.
This is Pokemon Go to the polls of Survivor, and I am here for it. This is his attempts to be so with it and cutting, and it just doesn't work on so many levels that it is just such incredible television. I remember there's a lot of discussion around it at the time.
Was there? The discussion was probably, is this an eye roll or is this like a really big eye roll?
Yes. All right. So
what do you think, Rob? You're the tiebreaker here.
All right. So Mike, where do you think it should be?
I think it should either be at the top of Ain't No Hershey bar or the bottom of My Life Is Fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Okay. So and Mary thinks it should be but below Jules.
Yeah, I think it's right on par with her.
Ratchet. There. It's almost as bad as Jamie and Eric. Okay. Let's just talk this through. It's Jeff saying something weird at Tribal Council, trying to, make a point. So I feel like, to me, it's almost like Jeff dealing with communication. I feel like it's in the area of the conch shell.
See, that's what I'm saying. You could put it above Jules. I'd be okay with that, above the conch shell. Sure, it's in this.
I think it's above the conch shell.
I still think this is too low. I think it's you old fogies are just saying, wow, you're putting too much of a mirror in front of me. Us millennials, we're biting into hot dogs and saying, stick it to them.
Okay.
Put it up higher.
All right. Well, here's where the audience can weigh in. If you think this is too low, then you should tweet Mary. YOU are too low on this, and if you think it's it should be high. Then text Mike and say you were right. Yeah, with a U.
Exactly. It's communicate to our respective generations. We'll see. So this is very much in flux right now. This is dependent on the immediate popular vote.
All right.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're in the same generation, Mike.
I don't know. I've heard about the way that you Google.
Oh no.
All right. So unfortunately, Mary, I have bad news. We're staying in Millennials versus Gen X. And we're going to go only a couple of episodes later. We talked about Jeff Probst possibly inserting himself into the stream of things when it comes to strategic conversations at Tribal Council. But how about romantic? Let's go back to a time when there's a little couple by the name of Figtails.
Oh.
Jeff Probst trying to spur things along.
They don't text anymore. Yeah.
So, Taylor, are you in love?
I wouldn't say that. I think that's a stretch, but no, we definitely like each other.
Young love. Ken, have you noticed this relationship?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was hilarious when they came up and, we know you probably didn't catch it, but just so you know, we actually like each other. And I was like, and it was obvious from the get-go.
Being that I am an ordained minister, if I were to say to you, let's throw caution to the wind and let's just get married right now. The millennials do these things We marry you right now. I get your license.
Oh, God.
Survivor first, let's go.
Are you serious? I can't tell if you're actually.
I was just saying Survivor first. I wasn't like,
Taylor, when Figgy says, let's go for it, and you say, are you serious? She's waiting for you. Am I right, Ken?
To step in and confirm what she just said, therefore validating her feelings and making her feel safe and secure in this well-developed 2-week relationship.
Oh my God.
Oh God, so much Ken. What she's really trying to say.
Yeah.
This is a test.
Boy, Adam Klein really missed the opportunity to try out his catchphrase.
Marriage.
So this is funny. This whole thing is great.
Yeah.
It's also cringy, and like at the time you're just watching through your fingertips and you're a little bit annoyed with Jeff throwing in the whole millennials thing again, trying to make this a thing that millennials are like, throw caution to the wind. Let's just get married. That's not really whatever. But I know all those Gen Z out there are like, classic millennial hating on people saying millennials. But like,
we have a lot of Gen Z listeners who watch
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I know that I'm gonna get flack for not liking.
Please
this.
leave Mary alone.
Grow up.
Literally.
Kristen's gonna get mad that I stole her thing.
No, don't grow up. Then you can't apply for Survivor.
Right. Yeah. So I think the thing about this, where I like this one so much better than the last one, is that it's not. This is just like a bizarre, really takes you out of Survivor. What are they doing in this moment? Jeff is trying to marry somebody. You know, this is so different than like. He's trying to link it back to the theme without just arbitrarily talking about the theme outside of this. He's trying to pick up on the relationship, and this is very soap opera-y. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff was really punchy this season in Millennials versus Gen X. He's really like feeling it. Like, all right, let's see where we go with this.
Well, I think he sort of is like the Johnny Carson to Ken's Ed McMahon, right? Where like Ken will throw in a comment. He's always good for a little aside there. I love this so much. I love everything from Jeff flat out asking Taylor if he's in love with Figgy to him ruminating, young love. Like, it's so great. And the fact that remember, Rob, I think this was one of the live know-it-alls that we were at.
Yes.
This was episode 6.
Adam was there.
Adam Klein's cousin was there. He got up and took a bow on behalf of his cousin when he voted out Figgy. And I think that it's just such it's another sort of self-effacing moment from Jeff, right? On the line of Botox of like, I'm an ordained minister. I could do it. It would be even above the top tier if it actually happened again. Like if it actually happened. If they're like, sure, let's do it. And he goes, all right, we're going to stop tribal council. And you know what? It would have been even above top tier.
Do you, Figgy? Do you, Figgy, take Taylor to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do.
Taylor, would you give Figgy your immunity necklace? That's how we know if it's love.
You may now kiss the bride. But,
no,
kiss is nice.
Y-O-U, not the letter U.
All right. This will be interesting. All right, let's take a look at Figgy and Taylor. And it was a short-lived romance. Got it.
Very much so.
All right. So, Mary, you like this one.
I do like this one. I think this is funny. I think that this is a great back and forth. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. I think this is like just below Penner.
Just below Penner.
Oh my God.
And I know that's really big, but here's where I'm coming from. If you're looking at like a YouTube list of just wildest things that ever happened on Survivor or most absurd, out of context, like what is going on, this is what you're seeing. If you're having someone who walks into the room while you're watching Survivor and they see this, they're very confused about what's going on. Like, I thought this was a game show where people are trying to vote each other out. Why is the host asking if these two people want to marry each other? They've known each other for 2 weeks. Jeff's gone full bachelor, and it's great, and it doesn't happen often.
Ironically, that this is almost like they should have gone like full Maury Povich, and they're like, all right, you two are in love, but there's somebody else that's here that wants to have a word. Let's bring out Taylor's girlfriend back home, and she has some news.
Oh, could you imagine if just the fourth wall not only breaks, but just like explodes, and it just turns into, Ken on the side dispensing advice, Adam just freaking out, Jessica Lewis just sitting there with her red eyes in her hands, and everything falls apart. There's no voting anymore. It's just Taylor and Figgy's drama spilled out onto the floor.
This is ridiculous.
Yes. Wow.
I could buy Mary's argument here. I wasn't so sure about this being top tier, but I think if we're looking at the rubric again of, is it iconic? Is it weird? Is it funny? And I would say, like, yes, it's a bit longer than Dig Woman or Rob is literally carrying his family on his back, but like, there's not a moment where it lulls. Jeff does the whole Taylor, are you in love? Ah, young love. And then he actually makes the offer to marry two people right there on Survivor Island, which is a ridiculous proposition.
Yeah, I like that Jeff Probst is in on this one also.
That's very true. The top three right now are very much things that he is putting forward, not necessarily things he said that he is not necessarily in the know of.
Okay. All right, let's leave it. Let's see where we go. All right, Mike, what else do you have?
All right, well, let's skip ahead a bit. And these are going to be kind of some catch-all ones that represent some of the more iconic parts of Jeff Probst's various hostings over the course of Survivor. Now, look, Jeff has a very unique way of describing rewards. And for this, Rob, I'm going back to where we went in the very first edition of Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST. I went back to Survivor Game Changers. Here is Jeff Probst describing an afternoon at the Marshall's Spa in a way that would make Eric Huffman blanch.
Want to know what you're playing for?
Yeah.
A day of luxury.
Oh my God.
The winning team will be taken to the Marshall's Lounge, where you will enjoy a shower with soaps and shampoos. You'll dry off in Egyptian cotton towels. Relax in fluffy designer robes. Pamper yourself with lotions. And when you're good and clean, a little more comfort in the form of burgers. Apple pie. Worth playing for?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do a schoolyard pick. We'll get started.
Yeah, so I think I'm just trying to find, like, what's the best version of Jeff's lasciviously describing the reward. And I think this is at least the one that I most remember in terms of him just salivating on each syllable.
Lotions and apple pie.
Yeah.
When I think of Marshalls.
All right. Mary, how do you feel about Jeff being very descriptive about the rewards?
So I feel like this is something that we still talk about every time it happens, of why did Jeff say pasta? Why did he need to go chocolate cake? Why did he need to say it that way? So we still bring it up, even though he does it all the time. And so this is like a lasting, recurring thing. I don't know about this, like being representative of a whole. This is something that Jeff does a lot. Is it too normalized, though? Have we gotten used to it? Is it, if you hear this, you're like, oh yeah, wow, that's weird that he did it the first time. But Jeff says this kind of thing a lot. Whereas he doesn't offer to marry somebody every day.
Right. But I think that the fact that it's also recurring can also be unique in and of itself, as weird as that may sound, that he has turned this into a hallmark. So he can say things like baked potato, and no one turns their head like, did he not say O correctly? Or, the way he goes, apple pie, like these weird little affectations that he throws into things. And of course, I think the highlight of this one is, of course, the way he talks about pampering yourself with lotions.
I mean, it's the fact that he would say these rewards with all the fixins. That's the reason that's now in the zeitgeist.
Exactly.
Of Survivor the verbiage. So,
right. So we're sort of like half talking about Marshalls, and we're sort of half talking about, in general, Jeff's way of delivering the rewards.
Yeah. I would like to see Jeff describe like really like mundane lunches that people have, of like, you're going to have tuna with mayo and some sliced whole wheat bread and a pickle. Does that sound?
That's pretty good.
What's in that bag? Apple slices.
I think that you should get Jeff next time you see him. Get him to do one of your ad reads.
Oh yeah, for like HelloFresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think anything that he could just like really go into it and then just like really hype it up. He's a professional.
Yeah, and I think to that point though, it's very clear, especially with that Marshall's clip, that Jeff is buying into it, right? This is not an unintentional humor thing. This is very much him purposely building this up. He knows how ridiculous and dramatic it sounds, and so he's leaning into it even more so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go ahead and see where we have Marshalls. Now, I would say the downside for me here is I don't think that the Marshalls one is particularly iconic. I mean, I know of it because we talked about it on the podcast that we did with Jason Reed, where we talked about the product placements, but I do feel like that it is this is sort of like a avatar for all the reward descriptions.
Well, it is blue in logo. So yes, it is quite the avatar. Yeah, I mean, so that from that perspective, that aside, Marshalls back in the day, Rob, that was our very first Forget You Go Home Goodbye. It was right at the bottom. I'm putting this in the opposite. I think it's top tier. I think if this is a catch-all,
top tier.
I think if this is a catch-all of the way that Jeff sensually describes rewards, I think it has to be top tier.
Mary, where are you on this?
Yeah, I'm close. I think it's either at the very, very end of Worth Playing For or at the beginning of My Life Is Fine. I think it's in one of those two places because I just don't think that it's like, I think I'm used to it. I think I've been...
Yeah, I'm the lowest of the three of us. I just feel like that this is not this is like living off of reputation. Like, it's not that this clip is so great. It's that, yes, but this clip stands for all of the clips, a thing that Jeff does.
Yeah. What's the problem with that?
Well, why should one clip get to stand for 100 clips?
Did you want me to pull 100 clips, Rob, to put it in the show? Or did you want to not talk about it?
But here's the thing. If you pull all those 100 clips, we're going to start being like, yeah, it's another one of Jeff saying these things. And they're start going to moving toward the bottom. Because I think they weigh each other down by the fact that there are so many. I think it's an iconic Jeff thing, but it's not they're not as funny on their own because they're not as bizarre, they're not as out there anymore.
So
because
there's
all
been
of these
so many
things.
I think if you play a bunch of these in a row, that maybe they lose less value. I think the fact that it comes back again and again, the humor is in that. It's a recurring character, is Jeff's way of delivering things. It's a thing that carries with through 20 years of Survivor.
I feel like the clip itself should stand on its own merits and not get any sort of like halo effect from other times that were similar clips were funny.
I mean, if you want to find a better clip, I'll put the better clip in there as a representation of it.
Do you have a better clip? Is it the potato one?
I'll throw it on to you. Is Jeff Probst saying baked potato better than lotions?
I think it is. I don't know. I'm torn on this because, like, me personally, I'm watching Survivor. I'm gonna quote carrying their family on their back or Dig Woman more than this.
I'm watching Survivor. I look to, okay, there's going to be a reward. How is Jeff going to say it so oddly sexual?
I was more
here.
furious.
Hold on here. Let me see. Hold on. That luckily you're in the right place for the database of Jeff Probst sounds. Let's listen. Go back to Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers.
Had some issue with the way we cooked the patatas.
Oh no, wrong patatas clip. Sorry.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Did you just label potato as the name of the clip?
Patatas. Yeah, that was what I labeled the clip.
And nobody can say
not to be
potato or
confused
potato.
with.
They're about to see some tatas today.
No, that's different.
Patatas.
Okay.
Uh,
I think this is too high. I think it's too high and for Worth Playing For.
I mean, I think it's perfectly fine, but I guess I defect to Mary here. I feel like I'm going to get outvoted.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I already feel like I fought for the one I was really passionate about with the UU thing. So I would bump it down to the top of My Life Is Fine, but I'm okay with it.
Not worth playing for.
It's still in the same ranking. It's
Sinners.
just
Sinners
not...
you both. Sinners you both. No lotions for you. Stay dry.
Okay. All right. So, Mike, what's next?
Let's go for something completely original and isolated into one clip this time, so I don't get harassed anymore.
Perfect.
Because Jeff Probst is going to try out a catchphrase. So, and you talked about this a lot, Rob, in Survivor Game Changers. He's going to try it out here after Troyzan. There was a guy named Troyzan on Survivor Game Changers, wins immunity. And this is Jeff's attempt at a catchphrase of when someone abdicates immunity to somebody else.
I love it.
First things first, Troyzan. Gotta take it back. Damn. Spin and grin.
Oh, spin and grin. Is that a new, hashtag?
Just for you.
Thank you. I like that.
Spin and grin, really the conch shell of
Spin and grin.
Yeah, the Jeff Probst catchphrase really goes the way of the conch shell.
Yeah.
Makes one appearance, and I believe that's it.
Troyzan really likes it. He's like, hey, this is new, right? Yeah, this is for me.
No, not. Yeah, I guess so. Sure. Yeah, I'm being seen on this season. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Spin and grin.
Spin and grin. Mary, you don't like spin and grin?
No. For me, this is one of the few where I'm like, I was watching Survivor and I had to rewind it because I was like, wait, he didn't just say that. Let's hear that again. Yeah. What is this? He said it so confidently, like it was a thing, and it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
He just made it up.
That's how you sell it.
Out of nowhere. Yeah. And then he said it, and I was like, yeah, spin and grin. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. I like the way to your point, Mary, he sort of gaslights it, right? He's not like, hey guys, I'm trying out some new material right now. He just introduces it and sees how they receive it.
Well, Troyzan is like, so what is this? Like something new? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. No, you haven't been paying attention.
We're trying it out. Yeah. What do you think?
I like it.
Middle of the season. We're going with it.
But I know, Rob, you made an argument about this, that the hilarious thing about this is that, it shouldn't be spin and grin. You shouldn't be smiling when you're giving up immunity. You should be sad when you're doing so, which is, I think, when we came up.
Yeah, spin and grin when you win. Spin and grin, you win.
I think that's when we came up with a round and frown for those that are giving up immunity.
But hasn't he? Maybe
You have an excellent memory, Mike.
Maybe I made this up, but I thought that he did say it once or twice when he was awarding immunity to someone too. Like,
I don't know.
Hey,
I thought
Kelly, you want to spin and grin?
I thought it was always when someone was giving up immunity, but I might be
That's very likely. That's possible, but I think it works for the other one more.
Oh, absolutely. It's used in absolutely the wrong position, which again makes it even funnier.
All right. Let's take a look. Let's on the big board. All right. Spin and grin. All right. It's not Ratchet. All right.
Definitely not Ratchet.
All right. How high should this go, Mary? Where's the ceiling?
It's short, so it's sort of up. I feel like this is up there with Dig Woman, personally. Like it's in. Let's start looking at it there because it's in that vicinity of like a thing that he has said multiple times or we have thought about multiple times. I think Dig Woman's a little more common. The spin and grin was a little bit more like, hey, that's a new thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I do like how the fact that it is so. I don't know. Survivor really has its legs at this point, whereas the conch shell, it was like, okay, this is something new. We're still trying something out. This is 34 seasons, and Jeff's like, I think I'm gonna wear my hair different. It's essentially the equivalent of that. I do like the audacity behind it.
I think the tricky part here is it is very short and it's very Survivor centric, right? It's like you got to know something about the fact that he takes off the necklace from the person, they face their back to him in order to know even why he would be saying this. So it's not, like the mom thing is in some ways more of a bizarre moment, but I don't know. I'm torn. I could see this sort of hopping around a few places. I'd be okay with it going higher, be okay with it going lower.
I could see it at Ain't No Hershey Bar as well. I'm not sure why, but I'm looking at things like Rob and Jeff in the truck or Bye Bye Denver Diva, and I think those are like maybe funnier moments. This is one of those like, oh, why is he saying that? Okay. Interesting. It's one of those like sort of blips on the radar.
Yeah, I would say it loses points because it doesn't really get a beat. It's just like a thing that happened and we're just moving on.
So another sort of a thing that you could put it near also would be like the Botox thing, right?
I was thinking near the Botox stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's also another moment that's like, interesting that he just said that.
Yeah, I put it above the Botox because again, it's Jeff trying to
above the Botox, below the mom.
Yeah, above the forehead, below the mom. It's this idea of him trying to sort of manifest something and try to throw it out there. Like, it's interesting to see like the inner workings of Jeff's process in that one moment.
Okay. All right, Mike, what else do you have for us?
My apologies, because I'm going to do a little bit more of a catch-all.
Okay.
Jeff Probst says some interesting things at the family visit. I picked what I personally think is the strangest one.
Okay.
If you may think it might not be the case, this is what I personally think. We are going to Survivor David versus Goliath, the family visit.
Yeah.
This is what Jeff has to say to Kara Kay and her brother.
Kara, the thing about a brother-sister relationship, one of you's not the parent. It's a really unique dynamic in the family.
Yep.
It's so unique.
That is fair.
It's so unique. You're not
untrue.
Parents. How many families have siblings, right? It's so unique.
Yeah. The thing about the brother and sister is that you're not the parent.
Let's start with the
I never thought of it that way.
Let's lay out the obvious things. Brother, sister, not parent. Like, he has that whiteboard that Mary desires so much on the Jeff Probst action figure out, making the math work.
Right. This is okay. So with your previous argument about something that is a catch-all, looking at the food, I think every time that he has ever said something weird at a family visit, it has been more bizarre and out there than the way he's pronounced a food thing.
I completely agree.
Personally.
I think it's absolutely above the food no matter what. I think this is a tenet of Jeff Probst is whenever the family visit comes around, I think all of us fans sit at home and say, Jeff is going to have a comment for each and every one of these couples. And considering how big they make the family visits now, he's going to have more and more people to come up with stuff about. Who does he reserve the big, sweeping statements for? And who does he say, brother, sisters are an interesting relationship in that neither one is the parent?
Yeah. I wonder if he's like really, it's more for like the viewer at home of like, okay, well, this is like the relationship between a brother and a sister. You have a brother. You know what that's like.
Wait,
audience member.
Jeff is like his future competitor on Survivor Paramount Plus, Dora the Explorer, reaching out through the fourth wall and being like, do you know about brothers and sisters?
He's trying to get the people at home crying.
Like, so you're saying the people at home are like, that's right.
I could see,
you are like my brother. Wait, we're not like a parent-child relationship.
Wait a minute. I thought you were my dad this whole time. Turns out you were my brother.
Yeah.
Jeff Probst changed my family.
Yes, he really looks into there's nothing like the relationship between a mother and a son, like a dad and a daughter.
Yeah. There's a weird one in Survivor Triple H when he's like, there's nothing like a daughter falling into her father's arms. Like he's doing like a K Jewelers commercial or something.
Yeah. Is that K like the letter K, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, do you spell it K-A-Y? It's a beautiful language.
Yeah, it's always fun then when it's like a friend, when it's like there's nothing like the relationship between a guy and his friend.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's also
give him a big hug.
But then there's also like the other side of things where he also gets a bit blistering about things like, we got Dr. Mike. We got to find out who the hell married you. Like, he just really goes after the big characters of like, let's see what weirdo decided to hitch themselves to your wagon.
Yeah. I think he said it to Ron Clark too.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
The most recent family visit I watched.
Yeah,
let's find out who married you.
It's just like an odd way to welcome someone into your life.
Yeah. I would definitely get the, all right, Rob, let's see what loser married you.
You're not giving up your immunity necklace for her, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
Yeah, and there's also Eric Smith said in the chat, the infamous Spencer has a girlfriend from Survivor Cambodia.
Yeah.
Spencer has a girlfriend.
Let's see where this goes. Okay. That the lumped in all family visits. Okay.
All right, so I'll make the case again here, and maybe this will not fall on his deaf ears. I think this is top tier.
I agree. I feel like that the blanket all family visits should be above blanket all food.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this specific clip that we pulled should be better than we're going to execute them.
I think it is. It's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. The thing about a brother and sister is that neither one of you is the parent. It's like if an alien beamed down named Glimglar and was like, please tell me about, I'm coming off as a human here. Oh, yes, brothers and sisters, the one where neither one is the parent, of course.
Yes. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, I'm right up with you.
Which you? IOU or you?
With ROB. I feel like it's in the top tier. I think it's in the top tier. I think it might be above execution. It's not above the wedding.
Oh, okay. It's the
but
bridesmaid.
I think that it's, I mean, because I'm trying to balance out that this is one clip and also lots of clips.
I don't like the fact that it's one clip representing a lot of clips. But that being said,
I'll make a note for the future. No one clip to rule them all.
I do feel like, though, that is the weirdest thing that Jeff does on the show is the family visit.
I think it's the weirdest thing that Jeff routinely does. I think there are individual moments that are more weird and funny, such as the wedding thing.
I mean, I think that we could legitimately do a future one of these, and maybe we will, of just things Jeff Probst says at the family visit. There's legitimately fodder for that one.
That certainly is possible. Let's see. I have so many clips. I'm just looking up my. Oh yeah, here's. I mean, I let me see if I could bring you a couple. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. This is the one I just mentioned.
Ron, let's get your husband out here. Lloyd, come on out. Let's see who married you.
Yeah, I'm sure there are many others that we could track down. Okay, yeah, this is the.
Kara, the thing about a brother-sister relationship, one of you's not the parent. It's a really unique dynamic in the family.
Wait, did he say one? Did he say one or none of you is the parent?
Kara, the thing about a brother-sister relationship, one of you's not the parent. It's a really unique dynamic in the family.
One of you is not the parent.
That's the same with the parent-child relationship. One of you is not the parent. I think these are great. I mean, look, you have gotten so much out of the family visits, enough to make a whole Bryce podcast every year with them.
I think this is another one. Hold on.
Nick, one thing I noticed there is that the little boy came out.
All right, this is not save it for the sequel. This is save it for the spin-off. I think we officially have to do a spin-off of all these.
Yeah, I think this one. Hold on, that way the little boy came out, and then also
Gabby, can you feel the young woman let go and the little girl come back? Like this is mom.
What is David versus Goliath doing to him?
You want to make it on Survivor
David, of us all.
You want to make it on Survivor just to hear what is Jeff going to say about your family dynamic.
Yeah. Okay. Oh boy.
All right, so we'll keep it right here. Let's let the little girls and the little boys stay inside, and I think it's a good number 3 at the moment.
How long before somebody who's a really deep cut fan comes on the show, brings their sibling out, and then Jeff goes, "How does it feel to have your sibling here?" And they go, "Well, you know, Jeff, the thing is, it's a really unique relationship because neither one of us is the parent."
No, one of us isn't the parent.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be a really funny moment if a fan got ahead the jump on it.
I think that'd be great.
All right, so
okay,
I'll admit, sorry. 3 times, 3 strikes, and I'm out here. This is a bit of another catch-all. Jeff Probst loves balls. And there was a moment when I think, and near the 20s, that there was a lot of ball challenges and a lot of Jeff Probst ball talk. We didn't really get a lot of it in the 30s. It came back with full force in season 37. So whether or not you think this is the epitome of a ball quote or not, here
is the epitome of a ball quote.
Exactly. Put some English on those balls. This is Jeff narrating a challenge in Survivor David versus Goliath, where he asks a very important question that I would say transcends the game.
Mike's ball's starting to move. Got to get it back in control. Angelina, both balls separating, hanging on opposite sides of the disc. That is a dangerous spot to be. Kara's ball's now on the move.
Kara drops. She's out. Gently take a step backwards. Angelina trying to get back in control of her balls. Angelina's balls drop. She is out. We are down to 5. Davey's ball starting to separate now. Which is worse, balls separating or balls clanging together? Both give you that uncomfortable feeling in this challenge. Nick wobbling again, once again getting it back under control. Davey's ball's now on the move. Both of Davey's balls drop at the same time. Davey is out. We are down to 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, you at least did the right thing here of pulling the best ball clip as well.
I'm glad that I finally picked the best
Yeah.
one. Because I believe Survivor Cagayan, there was some really good ball and pole stuff. But I think the question, what is better, balls separating or balls clanging together? I think them all.
Those balls start to go in opposite directions. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that which one is worse in this challenge? Quote. This is Jeff getting on top. Like,
my vote would
big
be
braining.
pulled apart.
Yeah, I'd rather not have things pulled away from the center rather than coming towards them.
Clanging together, I think not a huge concern.
I feel like I'm the wrong person for this
Yeah.
podcast. Look, I think that this is Jeff like knowing that this is what the fans talk about, and he's like, "Ha, I'm gonna just make as many ball jokes as I can." And then in this challenge, I mean, this was great. This was great.
Yeah, going back to like 2012 when I had interviewed Jeff and I asked him about it, and he said, "Oh, no, I like to do that stuff." But then I did feel like that he did, and maybe this is like around the time that wait, Jules, JYOUL, yes, yeah, she's watching. All right, let me lay off. But then maybe this is like, okay, let me throw people a bone here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, maybe he was just on the wacky sauce in David versus Goliath between the family visit quotes that you pulled and now the balls came back in style. So good. And even just outside of that question, Davey's balls drop both at once. Just so many euphemisms all at once. Like Tobias Funke is now show running Survivor for a brief second.
This is the point when Jeff knows that he's doing this on purpose, and it's great. I love it, and it's
which
also,
is worse.
It's also something that is completely. You can't explain this when you're watching this. If you're watching this episode with a new viewer, which I remember watching this episode with some people who had never seen Survivor before, and they're like, "He's got to be joking, right? They can't put this on TV. What is he doing?" It was great.
Okay,
I love this moment.
All right, here we are. Mike, is this it? This is the balls?
These are the balls. And you know what? Let me throw something in there, much like a ball. I think this is number 1.
You think this is number 1?
I think this is something quintessentially Jeff Probst. I think the clip is funny. It is weird. It is something only Jeff Probst can do. And it very much calls to the host that we know and love so dearly.
Okay. Is this the best balls quote?
I mean, Mary just said it was.
I think it is.
Mary said it was.
I think the which one is worse, balls clanging apart or coming together? The part about you never want to see that happen in this challenge.
Let me see. Can I raise you?
Okay, go ahead.
1 ball was tough. 2 is definitely more than twice as hard.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. How about what about this?
Several shots at the wind, can't do it. Keeps knocking his balls off.
Yeah.
See, but this challenge has that and more with Jeff's very intentional. Both of you can make you very uncomfortable. ... in this challenge.
Now you got to land 2 balls on a very narrow perch.
Yeah.
They all make me laugh, and they all make me think about how
they all make me think.
you love to see a challenge with balls just so that you can hear Jeff.
You gotta work together to release those balls.
How about this? This could be comparable.
Ties balls banging into each other. Never good.
But this raises it one step further. Of would you rather have it together or separate? He provides an alternative. He provides an Amazing Race detour.
All right. Maybe this could be the best.
Survivor off season, by the way, is like searching for the best ball clip from Jeff Probst.
All right, everybody in their first position, place your balls on your platform. Get them steady. You can keep holding on until I tell you to release. Here we go.
Here we go.
Okay.
I personally, I agree with Mike. I think that's. I'm sorry.
Mark the chicken.
Mark the chicken. Yeah. I agree. I think this.
You think it should be number one?
I think it should be number one. I think it's great. I think it's like, you're watching the YouTube clips and you're like just waiting for when's the ball's gonna come up. It's gonna be number one. It's gotta be. And then you just get to that top and it's a montage. And I love it.
Okay. You're putting yourself in the position of a viewer who's watching this whole show, waiting for us to get to the balls clips.
That's where I feel like I think that I'm sort of going back on what I said before, but like there are individual moments that are more weird.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say there are some clips that take a entire podcast to become iconic. And there are others once you hear them, they are instantly iconic.
Iconic.
This might be one of them.
It might be. I mean, I think as Penner fans, I think those moments are great.
Let me consult with Penner about this being the new number one. Penner, what do you think about this clip being number one? My ass.
Oh, they're going to say it's bollocks, which ironically enough overtook
bollocks, and you know it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm all good with this being number one, and considering we only have a couple left, I think there's a chance it's going to remain number one, and I think it's very representative of just Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST in general, that Jeff Probst ball comments, and it's serving as a Survivor tradition, is the number one on this ranking.
Okay. There you go. All right. So good job. Good job there.
All right.
Well, a lot of movement. His ball's dancing all over the place.
Okay. All right.
All right. We got a couple left here. So you mentioned this before, Rob, and we're going to have you relitigate this. Let's go to something you talked about as soon as last week. We're going to the Edge of Extinction reunion, where Jeff, in a quote that is just so awkward in hindsight, in a myriad of ways, decides to propose something to Joe right there, right then, on stage, to maybe give him a fighting chance of doing better on Survivor in the future.
Okay, well, I just want to say, before we go to break, I have a theory. It's just I have a theory.
What is
your Achilles heel? It's the hair. It's the weight. It's the weight distribution. The balance. I'm just saying.
I'm like saying this might. I think this is like.
I'm just saying the guy that cuts my hair is here. If you wanted to cut it off tonight.
Wait. So are you saying do you really think this is it though?
I don't know.
So if I cut it or keep it? If I become normal. No. If I cut it off and I'm
cut it or keep it.
But you really think this is it though? If I cut
Survivor, Edge of Extinction finale continues right after this. Keep the hair. Keep it. You should keep it. You want to cut it?
So interesting. So Jeff Probst felt like, okay, Joe, if you cut your hair, you'll change into a completely different person.
No. It's the weight distribution.
Weight distribution. And then Joe was apprehensive and did it. And I feel like it is. I'm trying to think, has Joe drastically changed since that Jeff told him to cut his hair? I do feel like that there is something that is different, and I'm trying to put my finger on it. Yeah, I wonder.
I feel like there's some difference in weight distribution, maybe in a body part like the brain, perhaps. Maybe something that affects decision making.
Yeah, because I do feel like that he did change since then.
Maybe the hair was doing more, protecting that area than we realized.
I feel like something's different.
Possible.
Yeah. I mean, he went from Samson to something quite different from Samson, maybe a different biblical character.
All right, let's put this on the list, because I feel I have feelings about this. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
It's so awkward. It's not awkward in a Jules way or an Eric way, but it's a weird tap dance where Jeff throws this out and Joe's like, do you want me to do it? And he's like, you don't need to.
I don't like that he takes it back at the end. I think he should have had a stance and gone with it. It's the wishy-washiness at the end that's weird.
But it also comes on the heels of that Jeff had just gotten done with like, Joe, like, you'll play again, right? You got to come back. And it was like Joe really gave you absolutely nothing even in the third time out. I think that this is ratchet. I would put it above Eric and Jamie, but I still think that this is ratchet.
I would agree with that. I think not only is it ratchet in that everything abysmal that has come out about this afterwards, but the fact that it's just like it is so cringy. There's not really a moment like with the Jules thing of is it the hair when Jeff tries to come in that like can make for a funny line. It's more so just it's the Survivor equivalent of these two guys trying to get past each other, but they keep leaning in the same direction where they're both trying to speak over one another. I do actually like though Joe making the comment as he cuts the commercial of Joe being like, "I'll cut it. I'll cut the hair, please."
And he did. He did cut the hair.
Didn't he cut the hair? Wasn't there some Sia donation?
And Sia gave him money then. Also
which I think he donated or something.
It was a sloppy part of a very sloppy finale and reunion.
Yeah. I agree with this. I could even see it below the Jamie Eric thing. I mean, the Jamie Eric thing is more cringy, but at least it's more concise. This is very loud and talking over each other.
I feel like that the Jamie and Eric thing, like he should have known better than to ask it that night. Like I think that he should have. I think that like this maybe came out wrong. Of like that because I even myself told Joe after the first time he played, Joe, I think you need to gain like 100 pounds. I think that's weird. So like the idea, like I think that there was something to this idea of Joe needs to really change. It turns out that Joe needed to change a lot of things. That's really what it changed.
And Joey Amazing becomes the perfect Survivor player. But I think what makes this interesting
there were many things he needed to change.
Yeah, very much nowadays. But I think that the interesting thing is that Jeff comes out pre-prepared, right? Like the Eric thing seemed to be, I don't know, maybe a spur of the moment question. This was, Joe, I have a theory. Like you can imagine him staying up nights being like, what is the formula to get Joey Amazing to win Survivor? It's the hair. That's been the common denominator through all three of these seasons. We got to clip it.
Yeah. In fairness, that Joe's hair is like, 2 feet long. It's ridiculously long at this reunion show. I think that the Eric thing was like, boy, I need a question to ask Eric at the reunion. All right, I'm going to ask the virgin thing.
Yeah, this is not good.
What do you think, Mary?
I think it's where it deserves to be. It's Rob shit.
Right. We're cutting it like Joe's hair should and was cut.
Okay. All right. Mike, I think we have one clip left.
We have one clip left, and let's finish with the way things usually start, and specifically the way Survivor Winners at War started. The last Jeff Probst moment of this edition of Outwit, Outplay, OutLIST. A very unique start to a very unique season. All winners for the first time. Jeff decides to give them a champagne toast, and while Adam Klein is checking for idols at the bottom, Jeff decides to offer up a glass to the bubbly and offers these words of wisdom to the people about to embark on another 39-day journey.
Hi, I just want to say we are proud to have you here as representatives of our 40th season. You have earned it. But this is still Survivor, and even though you have all won, there will be tough times, you will be challenged, you will be vulnerable. And when those moments happen, just remember, you belong to Survivor, because a drink before war is always a good idea.
Yes.
Jeff's inner monologue, don't go pirate, don't go pirate, don't go pirate. Oh, hell, why not?
Yes. Oh, boy. And what a great tie-in to our Pirate Master rewatch here on the RHAP Rewind all month long.
Exactly. Jeff is not offering the black spot to any of these contestants right now. They belong.
Hearing that again without the video, it sounds like he's saying, you belong to Survivor. We got you. You belong to us now.
Gotcha. You'd signed the contract. You're a property.
To Survivor, because a drink before war is always a good idea.
Woo! Yeah.
And there's that awkward moment where like I think he throws the glass and like some people throw the glass and some don't. They're not sure what to do with it.
Yeah.
40 seasons in, I didn't think I could be surprised by Jeff anymore, but it surprised me with that accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a weird thing to do. I mean, I think Adam Klein had the right idea of like, oh, okay, let's see. This is like a dilemma of like, okay. But no, it's like, yeah, let's just toast. Let's just have a toast.
Yeah, and I'll try out my voices on you. You know, back 10 years ago in Nicaragua, I tried out my mother. Now you get my father, the brigand Probst.
Has Jeff done any other impressions?
It's a great question. I don't know. I think if he did, I think it would make the list. Maybe there are some for the sequel that people can remind me of, but those were the two ones that I can
Mary, he never attempted a Boston Rob impression?
You know, I was thinking right now, I'm like, I feel like if he did one, it was probably Boston Rob, but I can't remember one off the top of my head.
There.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. This is going to be tough to place, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because like, I think we consider it iconic, but is that recency bias? It certainly is weird.
Some moments take a long time to become iconic.
Oh, Jay brings up a good point in the chat. He did do a Reem impression during that one.
Dude. Yeah.
Reem pulling out her catchphrase, dude, I think is what he said.
Yeah. All right. So it's not Ratchet.
Definitely not Ratchet.
Okay.
It's tough because like, I'd be tempted to put it in my life as fine, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's is the moment iconic because the season's iconic? You know, like how much is it bolstered by the general epicness of that?
To me, like I feel like that this is more akin to Spin and Grin of like, let's just try something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that you walked away from the episode of like you're like, oh, that was weird that Jeff made that toast, but I don't think it necessarily became like instantly iconic.
All right, Jeff, your opportunity to play Henry Higgins has finally come. Show up, shine that British accent up, and take to it.
Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's in that sort of Spin and Grin kind of vicinity where it's I like did a double take when he said it. And went, wow, that's unusual. It's been quoted in the community. Probably hasn't reached farther than that. Recency bias, maybe, but I don't think that's anything to discount it for.
Okay.
So are we putting it next to the other voice acted clip in Jeff impersonating his mom?
Yeah, the impression zone. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a good look at our list and where it stands right now. Maybe let's look at the tiers and see if we want to examine anything. So our bottom tier right now, the Ratchet clips, Forget You Go Home Goodbye, Joe, you should come back, you should cut your hair, and then, hey, Eric, did you and Jamie do it?
Yeah,
Not you again.
I would be so inclined. I might throw something out here. If we want to make it a clean sweep, put all three reunion moments in the bottom tier.
Okay. Jeff talking to people in the reunion always always Ratchet. Mary, how do you feel about that?
I feel really good about that.
I kind of like that consistency, right? Of like Jeff Probst, again, we cannot iterate this enough. Top tier host, Emmy Award winning host. So there's some things that we may not be good at or that might make for awkward live TV moments. And this is the only time he works in live TV as well. We know from Julie Chen Moonves how awkward live TV can be.
Live TV is hard.
Yeah, these live, as she said herself, these live TV moments are probably bottom of the barrel in that regard.
Okay. So Jeff with Julie, amazing. Jeff with Joe. And Jules, Joe, and Jamie.
Did you say Julie amazing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Glad we got that.
All right. Our next tier, Ain't No Hershey Bar, is leading off with Jeff Probst does an impression of his mom. Jeff Probst does the drink before war is always a good idea. Spin and Grin. That he says to Shireen that maybe the Botox isn't working. A kiss is nice, but the immunity necklace is better. Jeff drags the villains for voting out Boston Rob and leaving in Courtney. You versus you and the conch shell.
So I have a couple of propositions here. Let's start with the most recent one. I think Brit and Mom should be swapped. Because I do think the epicness of a drink before war is a good idea, especially in the epic, in the midst of like such a big speech. Like this is what he ends his Braveheart speech on. To me, supersedes him essentially yelling at Dan and Fabio through his mom's voice.
Okay. I think that that I will remember A Drink Before War is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. That Jeff Probst doing the impression of his mom, I think I will forget next week. Unless Nicaragua comes up on the rewatch. I was
going to say, I'll get very acquainted with it very soon.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel, Mary?
Yeah, I feel okay about that. I think the mom thing is a weirder thing to have happened, but I didn't remember exactly when or how this happened. So I will always remember A Drink Before War is always a good idea.
And I think I might be fighting a losing battle here. I personally would be fine with bumping up You versus You at least one more spot. I don't remember how our popular vote ended up coming out. I think actually it was a wash, but I think at least when I'm looking back on just the strangeness of that conversation, I think that's a little better than Jeff really editorializing the villains.
This is the one Mary really hated.
Yes.
I think the thing I hate about it, though, is that I don't find it to be strange. I find it to be so par for the course, people talking about millennials. Oh, let's talk about how the text.
Oh, you feel like that this is millennial bashing.
It's not exactly millennial bashing. It's just like, let's lump these things into a category. And for me, it's like you hear that a season's called Millennials versus Gen X. You know that he's going to start being like,
this was low-hanging
you guys love your avocado toast and your shortening words and you're getting married very suddenly, right?
Those three famous things millennials do.
I feel like this is a thing that I would see on any conversation about Millennials versus Gen X and has nothing to do with Survivor or Jeff Probst, personally.
But that's
just where I stand on it.
Right. I could see that, but I think also the fact that it is on Survivor is interesting, right? That this is this random millennial bashing conversation that ends up showing up on Survivor.
If it wasn't on a season called Millennials versus Gen X, yes, but it's not. It's built into the title. I think if we were ranking like most absurd Survivor theming, then sure.
Ooh, all right, Rob, write that down, Rob.
Put that on the list. Yeah. Okay.
No, Heroes versus
I don't know. I mean, I already fought for it before. I'm not gonna, make this podcast go any longer than it needs to have this argument.
Mike, you want to move it up one spot?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up a little Angelino negotiation here. Just one
Come on, Mary, give him one spot.
Hey, you're fine. You can have your spot.
Give him one spot.
But for everyone, I just want the chat to know, and everyone listening to this podcast, if it was me, for those of you out there like me, I would have this below conch shell, but that's fine. But Mike tried to get this like in the top tier, so
we fought a good fight.
Putting words in my mouth, putting yous and yous in my mouth.
Okay. All right, Mike. So are we good here in Hershey Bar?
Yeah, I feel good about this. I don't know if you two have any other objections to it.
Yeah, I think we're good. My Life is Fine has Marshalls, which is representative for all reward descriptions. Boston Rob is literally carrying his family on his back. We have the great
Big Woman.
Then we have Boston Rob really knows his way around in the truck, and Denver Diva.
Yeah, so I particularly would like to get your opinions on like the old school clips, like Denver Diva and the car. Do they still hold up in this tier now that we've gone through the list?
To me, I feel like that the Denver Diva was just like an interesting thing that happened, but I don't think it was particularly funny. Like when we talk about like absurd things that happen, like I feel like that this was more like that Jeff was like stern with the contestants, more so than this was like something that was particularly funny.
I agree. Yeah,
I think that this one is the one that when we keep going back to this list, I keep thinking, how is this one so high? Well, what's so good about
because it was like
Diva?
The second thing we listened to.
Exactly. So I do think the truck thing is still funny. I think if you play that clip again, we'll all laugh again at everything that's said in it.
Nice, Mariana. What up?
I think that it's such a bizarre moment of television.
So let's downgrade the Denver Diva. Yeah. Where should that go?
See, here's an interesting question because now I'm looking at it. I kind of like at least a drink before war over Denver Diva, personally.
Well, let's move Denver Diva down, and then we'll talk about the drink before war.
Denver Diva down.
Okay. So, Mary, where's the floor? We were up in a mile-high elevation. Where's the floor for the Denver Diva?
I mean, it's when you look at like Stern Jeff, this is close to the Robin Tyson thing in content.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think nowadays, if we analyzed like all the times Jeff has gotten frustrated with contestants, it's probably happened a lot more recently. This was just one of the first ones where he really vocalized it. And if
Mary,
we said
it's
how
worse
many
than you,
I don't know. But you used too high, so I can't really judge it based on that. I don't know, because like the number of times Jeff has called out and spoken to the contestants and said, you should not have voted out these two people, you should have voted out this other person. That's a more bizarre thing. That's
Yeah, to me, I feel like that the Denver Diva thing, and then the Robin Tyson thing, and then the conch shell, all three of those things have in common. It's like Jeff's rules of order for tribal council. You are not writing the right names. You are not voting out the right people. You are speaking out of order.
Yeah, disciplinarian Jeff.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't come up a lot, but when it is, like, it's notable, but not necessarily funny.
Right. I think actually this is a good spot for it. I think Mary had a great idea with putting it down here.
Well done, Mary.
So I would argue in My Life is Fine, now looking back at it, I could eke Rob and Jeff in the truck above Dig Woman.
Mary?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. I think that's good.
Should we move the two impressions up to My Life is Fine? Is it too sparse to only have 4 in My Life is Fine?
I don't know, because I feel like My Life is Fine. I don't know. I'm looking at these clips and these feel distinctly different than the stuff in Ain't No Hershey Bar.
Okay. All right. Mary, you good with that?
Yeah, I could go either way on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then
if we wanted to look more aesthetically pleasing, then yeah, we can move Jeff.
It's fine. It's fine. The list is the list. It doesn't need to be aesthetically pleasing. We need to get it right. Okay. And then in our top tier here, worth playing for, from 5 to 1, we have Execute Them. We have All of the Family Visits. We have Figgy and Taylor Should Get Married right here at Tribal Council. We have the Penner Montage, My Ass, and then all of the Balls clips.
I think this is perfect.
Mary.
Yeah, I think this is good. I think this is great. You go from the how did this make television to the what am I watching to just the beauty of Penner, recurring themes, and then of course ending it all with the balls. This is how it should be.
Okay, well done. Take one last look at our list here before we print it and save it. Put it up on the wall with all the other lists that we've made that go on my refrigerator downstairs. Okay.
Do they?
Yes, we have them all, we have them all printed out and they go in the refrigerator.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. All right. We'll have a lot to explain to Dominic and Anthony about the top clips. Okay. All right. Well done. Boy, Mike, you've done it again.
Thank you. This was a really, really fun one. And look, let me just once again say, so it is not taken the wrong way, this is all done with love for Jeff Probst and everything he has brought to the show in
He's
20
certainly
years.
listening 3 hours into this.
There's been so much fun stuff over the years, and as has shown with some of these clips, he's also rife to poke at himself. I think we could poke a little bit at him and some of the more nonsense things that's happened. And I can't
the same guy who said, like, oh, is my Botox not working?
Yeah, like I'm very happy with the list that we were able to make. I think this could garner a sequel as well, because there are plenty more. There are entire video compilations of all the sassiness that Jeff Probst has. But this was a great way. You know, we're closing in on February 14th, Valentine's Day. What a better way to give our love to Jeff Probst by going through some of his most iconic moments across 40 seasons of Survivor. I'm very happy with the way this went.
Mike, what is that relationship between the fan of a TV show and its host?
The thing about it is one of you is not the host.
All right. Well, this was great. Mary, I'm so glad whenever we get the podcast together, Mary, I'm so happy to get to hear your takes on Survivor, get you talking about anything.
Great. I'm just happy to be here. I'm like Chappelle. Tell me what I'm doing next. This is
Okay.
I'm here for it. This was great. I enjoyed going down a little trip down memory lane with all these clips. Glad that we're here for some funny ones. And got to talk about Boston Rob a couple times. So hey, I'm happy.
Mary, I know you're training for a big run coming up. What's going on?
I am. Yeah, I'm not racing Puya, but I am.
You'd be much faster than Puya, right? You could be both Puya and Mike Bloom. You'd smoke both of them.
Could it be a thing where, like, if I somehow beat you in a race and you beat Puya, then by the transitive property, I beat Puya and I don't need to race
Although
him?
we don't know for sure. Mary, are you fast or are you just a distance runner?
Yeah, I'm mostly more on distance than speed. I mean, I'm very nervous about making the time limit that I have to break for this race, but yeah, I got my big 50K this weekend. So it's my first attempt. It might, who knows how well it'll go, but we'll see. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be perfect running weather.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Just think like you're ascending Mount Paramount alongside Jeff Probst and Beavis and Butthead and The Good Wife.
Do you have a pick for our Brant Steele that we're going to do?
I think I'm pro Dora.
She's going to be great at finding idols. She's got that map already.
I mean, she's got the map. No, if you're separating the map out as a separate person, I think.
I think her whole entourage. We're doing the backpack map. Maybe Boots comes along.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Mary, where can people keep up with everything you're doing?
You can find me everywhere at Frail Mary. I'm on the Twitter and the Instagram and the Twitch and all that stuff that everybody else is on. And I still have no clue what this Clubhouse thing is. I'm gonna have to look this up. Look, I'm a millennial. I don't know. I don't know anything that's going on.
You spell Clubhouse with a U or a Y-O-U? Clubhouse.
Yeah.
You can check out KowSkiCast if you want. Riverdale's back for season 5, so Kirsten McInnes and myself are covering that there, and along with we're still in the first Twilight book, so going through that. Gonna get to book 2 pretty soon.
Okay. All right. And how about for you, the always hardworking Mike Bloom?
Well,
always up to a million different things.
Speaking of hard work, Rob, you and I are about to dive into coverage of Tough as Nails season 2.
Oh, yes. Mary, did you watch Tough as Nails?
Yes, I did. I was just thinking that you could probably do this for Phil quotes as well if you really wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly. Mike, I don't want to make you too jealous. Can I show you? So can I show the audience something I got in the mail today?
I got it as well. So
I figured.
Show it off.
Okay. I got this in the mail. Check this out.
Oh my god!
This is my Phil Kogan. Watch out, Bryce. Watch out, Bryce. There's a new zaddy out there, and it's Phil Kogan, and he's back with his cast of Tough as Nails. And look, February. Here's the cast of Tough as Nails.
And luckily, there's nothing salacious in there. It's just shots of the cast members.
And look who's Mr. March, Swifty. Swifty is giving you blue steel without welding torch.
I love it. So yeah, this is a whole new group to jump into. Thank you, Phil and CBS.
I texted Bryce this morning. I said, "Uh-oh, Bryce, look out! Some new zaddies on the block."
Yeah,
Is
New
this
Zealand
available
zaddies.
for purchase somewhere? Is this an exclusive?
No.
Only for the Tough as Nails super fans.
Yeah, and I did believe Phil tweeted it out as well. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I hope I'm getting that. And I was luckily Christmas came early for me, and I was granted a copy as well. So I can't wait to tick down the days that we get to cover this show. So it's going to be you, me, Jessica Leese. We're going to record those on Thursdays, but actually right now, if you go to parade.com, I have an interview with the aforementioned Phil Kogan, where he talks about a few things that, are staying the same between seasons, including the team names, which I'm sure we'll certainly talk about, the trials and tribulations of filming during the pandemic, and then introducing these 12 people. That is just a nice companion piece, I would say, to the fantastic Issa look that Rob and Bryce did to the Tough as Nails season 2.
That was a lot of fun. Mary, do you see yourself more as a Dirty Hands or Savage Crew?
I think I'm very clean hands. I think I gotta go Savage Crew.
Yeah, though I think both Savage Crew, though, if you're not Dirty Hands, you're just gonna be arguing more. So really, it's like pick your poison.
I'm okay with that. I think I could get in a spat. I'm fine with that.
So, all right, Mike. What else? Yeah, you got so much going on.
other than that, the usual fare. Over on Post Show Recaps, going down the hatch with Josh Wegler, we're actually going to do a bunch of recordings right now about the beginning of season 4 of Lost. I've also been starting up my new podcast called The Bloom Files, where me and my wife, Angela Bloom, watch an episode of The X-Files every week. She loves the show. I've never seen it up to this point, and I'm having a...
Do you feel pressured, Mike, that if you say you don't like an episode, that Angela will be upset with you?
No, because I think the episodes that she picks are not necessarily like, oh, this is the most pristine quality. The ones we just watched were like straight up weird. And so I more so it's like, hey, let's talk about the weird stuff that's happening more so than like every single episode is a piece of top tier television. So I think it makes for great conversation and podcasting no matter what. So we've recorded a few episodes about that. Also on Post Show Recaps, speaking of Brant Steele, if you were a patron of Post Show Recaps, myself and Josh Wigler and Grace Leader did a podcast in a series that we're now dubbing the Wiggle Bloom, which is a monthly series of podcasts with Josh and myself. We did a Brant Steele Survivor, Disney versus Pixar versus DreamWorks. And we got to have a bunch of characters from animations past come together. And then I'll circle it back around to Survivor because Shannon, Gus, and I are covering a season that is not necessarily new, but new to one of us. One of us it is new to, much like a parent. We are covering Survivor South Africa, season 5, which has been a lot of fun so far. We just talked about the swap, which is, to be completely frank, my favorite way they've ever swapped tribes in Survivor history.
Whoa.
We have a lot to say about that, and we're soldiering forward with that as we continue the march into actual new Survivor content coming in early June with Survivor South Africa season 8. So there's a lot of stuff. Top Chef just got announced for beginning of April as well. So 2021, yeah, it is really springing up, and I'm just so excited for what's to come as soon as tomorrow night, Rob, with Tough as Nails.
All right. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, I totally was off my radar that we have to watch Tough as Nails tomorrow night. I'm so busy. I gotta get to Survivor One World. All those blue collar people watch some more on Tough as Nails. And that's right. On Wednesday night, we'll be live to talk about everything that happened in Survivor Worlds Apart. Be on the lookout for that. For those of you who were fans of Disney Channel original movies, the one and only Ian Terry joined me yesterday. I watched a 1999 film called Smart House. Mary, have you ever seen that one?
Oh, Smart House is one of my favorite DComs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Jump. The house is jumping.
Yeah. Yes. I always wanted that thing where you could pick out your clothes and they would tell you which one they wanted you to wear and have the apples and oranges shoot all over the place in the kitchen. It's great.
Yeah. So we talked about it all with Ian Terry. That's up on robhasawebsite.com. A lot of fun there. Also, over the weekend, Rob and Akiva invented a game show. Also, if you're interested in that sort of thing. And also follow us on Instagram. Follow at RHAP Grams. That's where the whole Instagramily gets together to see everything that's coming up here on Rob Has a Podcast. Of course, all this podcasting is made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. We got a lot going on in our patron podcast feed, including later tonight, the patron 5 for 5 will be back with the first lady of podcasting. And then this weekend, we'll be getting into our latest patron activity. It'll be Patron Family Feud coming up this Friday, plus our weekly feedback show for the Survivor All-Time Season Countdown and more, all at robhasawebsite.com/patron. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.